So yeah, we're gonna be. We've had some new news since the last podcast, Nafy.
Been a lot going on, for sure.
Big swing in Nafy.
Yeah.
We thankfully the old Trudeau stepped down. Yay!
Yeah, that makes us all happy.
Yeah. Nothing doesn't really change the facts of anything at the moment though, because he probed the government for another couple of months still.
Yeah,
And I was actually just reading something about the Liberal MPs say that right now their biggest thing is to make sure that the next leader they elect is bilingual. Right, that's their number one concern.
Yeah. Which in Canada is kind of a thing. I think you have to be bilingual.
Man, I'm just like, you know what? I think at this point, like I understand we got Quebec, they're French, you know. But I would like to think that they would care more about somebody who's going to deliver for them than somebody who's like fluent in their language too.
You would think so, right? You'd hope so.
Because what did Trudeau do? He knew how to speak French. Didn't do shit for him. You know?
No.
Yeah. The Bloc hated him too. So it's like, what did he do for you? And he doesn't do nothing. It's just like, what I've kind of noticed, man, that people's BS detectors are broken. You know? They need some real recalibration going on, you know? Like they can't tell that OJT was a BSer. Yeah. It's like you should be, if you can read a guy, you know, like I think Pierre will do what he can to help the Conservacy and help Quebec too, and he is fluent in French. I just thought it was hilarious that that's their concern.
Yeah.
That the person's bilingual, not somebody that's going to, you know, unite the country or somebody who's going to be, you know, have some great ideas to move the country forward. Like their only concern, they said, I was reading a quote from, it was a guy who was, I think it was an MP from Manitoba. It said that he'd be greatly offended if they selected a unilingual person to run for prime minister, and he thinks it's unacceptable for a unilingual person to run as prime minister. I disagree. You know, I think that if a person is qualified and actually understands the job of being president, I think, you know, if he can get by with some French is probably enough. And if he wants to learn it on his way, all the better to him. You know, good on you. Yeah. But 90% of Canada ain't French.
No.
You know, so that shouldn't be number one priority for a Canadian prime minister.
You wouldn't think so.
You know,
I think unfortunately though, with the way that our system works, and so kind of like in America, how you vote for your member of Congress, we vote for a member of Parliament, and the more members we get in, the more members a party gets in, the more likely they are to win, right? And Quebec has a lot of people, so they have a lot of ridings. Mm-hmm. And I think the major issue there is, I think we've given them, you know, I look back in Canadian politics and you can look through and you can see where so many mistakes were made.
Yeah.
In how we built our system, and we allowed them to have too many ridings, which means that if you don't speak their language, they won't vote for you.
Yeah. Well, it's very similar, dude. Like, pretty much all of New Mexico is speaking Spanish. Yeah. You know, lots of places are speaking Spanish, but you don't see them saying we need to be a bilingual president, you know, because, you know, there's people speaking Spanish and stuff.
That is their official second language.
Right? Yeah. But they don't require it for a president to speak it because it's ridiculous. Like the majority speaks English. It's like the majority, besides Newfoundland, speak English.
Yeah.
Because Newfoundland hard to know what to say, mate.
We don't know what. Yeah, we don't know what language they're talking.
Good folks. Yeah, very good folks. Some of the kindest human beings on the planet. But by golly, I'll be surprised if I can ever figure out what they're saying.
Yeah.
There was a whole, and it's funny because like you call somebody a Newfie, it's like a slur to like a Nova Scotian or somebody from like Labrador or something like that, even, right? Like people do not, or New Brunswick, they do not like being called Newfies. They only like being dumped in the same pool as them, right? It's like, but there's some class folks, man. I've knew some guys from Newfoundland, right?
Oh, for sure.
Just absolute gems, but they actually talk hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, are we supposed to have a Newfie prime minister in here who speaks Newfie? Because he ain't going to do so good on the world stage, guys. I'll tell you that right now.
It'd be entertaining as fuck. Holy
shit. Whatever. Listening to the talk to the president of China or something. He's talking to like a Newfie. Oh my goodness, man. That'd be awesome.
Kiss the cod.
Yeah, kiss the cod, guys. Oh man, that'd be good stuff.
Oh fuck, that'd be great.
But I don't think that should be the primary concern of the Liberals right now. I think that they should need to find a strong leader that's actually, because I think that probably what's going to happen is that Carney guy is going to be one of the guys who's going to be throwing his hat in the ring. It sounds like, and he's even more socialist than Trudeau was.
Yeah.
So, man, it'd be bad news if he gets in there. I just really hope that people in Canada, like, their goal right now is to prorogue government long enough so they could pick out a new member. For one, Singh's going to get his pension now, right? So that's whatever.
No getting past that.
But then, of course, after it's done, I think he's going to side with the Conservatives and say that they need to have, a new election ASAP, hopefully, and not wait. But what they're trying to do is they're going to pick a leader. Whoever they pick is going to really try and distance themselves from Trudeau. They're going to say they had nothing to do with the decisions that Trudeau made over the past 9 years, and they're going to do things better and differently. But people can't forget that every member of his party voted for all the stuff that Justin Trudeau wanted to do over the course of this last 9 years.
Oh, for sure.
So, they're all guilty of it. They're all guilty of making our country a complete shithole, for lack of a better term. We've gone over the past 9 years. And
when the leader of a street gang kills somebody, you don't let him anoint a new leader and then go, hey, the rest of those guys didn't really do anything too bad.
Yeah.
This was all it's built into their Liberal Party that they were doing what they were going to do.
Oh yeah, you spoke out, you got kicked out, right? Yeah. Just like we've talked about in the past. Especially if you're a woman, it seems like the most feminist guy out there who had no problems kicking women out of his caucus.
And we got to remember too that like everybody's talking about Chrystia Freeland being kicked out and how he went against her and everything that went along with that. We got to remember too, and I think some people are starting to forget, and we got to make sure we remember this. She left because she thought he wasn't taxing people enough.
Yeah. That's right.
So when she puts her hat in the ring, let's keep this in mind.
And she's horrible.
Because she is horrible.
Horrible.
She would tax us all to death.
I was just watching something the other day. I can't remember the lady's name. Oh, man, I wish I could remember it. But she was another one of his MPs who was bragging. Actually, Pierre posted it. I can't remember the lady's name, though. But bragging about how much that our carbon tax is and that the rest of the country needs to catch up, Because there's one thing that's undisputable. It works, she says. It is helping the environment. It's like, under what scale are you talking about? Like, under what? What has happened? How does me paying money out of my pocket to the government to go use for whatever making any sense at all or helping the environment any way whatsoever? Answer, it doesn't do shit.
No.
Not a damn thing.
And what it does do, anything that it does do is so detrimental to our society in that you look at it this way, you could probably get the same effects on lowering carbon as you do from the carbon tax. You could probably get the same effects from just systematically killing people.
Yeah.
Right? Because if people aren't driving,
they're
not creating carbon. And the problem is people aren't driving means they're not getting to work. That means they're not out there, especially here in Canada. I mean, we got 30-something million people in a country we're the second largest country in the world.
Pierre said that we're up to 45 million.
45 million.
Dude, our population has doubled in the past 20 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Unbelievable, dude. Yeah, because it was like when I graduated 20 years ago, it was 25 million.
Yeah.
So we're almost up. It's almost doubled in 20 years, man, which is unbelievable.
Yeah,
the amount of per capita. Here's a crazy old statistic for you, Nafy. I don't know if you heard this one. So I watched the old Jordan Peterson. He interviewed Pierre Poilievre there, a couple of absolute beauties. And I found out a stat that I was not aware of that shocked me.
Yeah.
Shocked me, Navy. I knew we were in trouble.
Yeah.
But so per capita, however they do the basing on it, I guess Ontario is considered our richest province.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you think Alberta would be,
but
Alberta, so they're, I don't know exactly how it is because they don't have resources and stuff, and I don't know if it's just because the amount of people they have. Or,
probably because there's more people and because of the equalization payments.
Yeah, the equalization payments probably helps them out a hell of a lot that we went through in the last podcast. Yeah. But anyways, so Ontario is Canada's richest province. It is poorer than the United States' poorest state, which is Mississippi.
Unbelievable.
So our richest province, Ontario, makes less money per capita per person than the poorest state in the United States, which is Mississippi. Unbelievable. Wow. They said before, and that's based on USD, they said too, on US dollars. Like they counter everything to US dollars. But they said back in the day, before Trudeau came into power, the median income was actually higher in Canada than in the United States.
We were actually doing it.
It was like very competitive. And now we make less than the poorest state in the United States. That is shocking, dude. I had no idea, man. I knew we were in bad shape, but that is like a stat that should hit people right in the nuts.
Yeah.
Show you what kind of shape we're in.
I think if you look at our productivity per person compared to America, we're something like 25 to 35% down.
Yeah, dude.
As well.
And they said, too, another thing that they brought up in that podcast was the amount of immigration. Mm-hmm. They said, you think it's bad in the States? We always hear about the southern border being opened up. Per capita, we've taken on way more people than the United States has. We've had way more immigration into Canada than the United States has per capita. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and you just by the number I just said, our population has doubled in 20 years.
Yeah.
Just absolutely insane number of new people coming here that hate our country. And one of the great things that I did hear Pierre say in that interview was something that we talked about in our last interview. He said it a little more eloquently than I did. But he said, like, you know, we accept people from all walks of life in every country that you're in. Every country that you come here. People come to Canada for sanctuary, you know, from troubled countries. Our only stipulation is you leave the war at the door when you come to Canada.
Damn right.
You know, you don't start it in our streets because that's where you left, and then you can leave that stuff back where it was. Yeah. And you come here for a fresh start, and that is exactly what we were saying in our last podcast. That you know, when people come here to take advantage of Canada and they're burning Canadian flags in the streets, saying "Death to Canada," those people got to go. Yeah. You know, we cannot have that in our country. It's only going to create more division. And when you got a whole new, basically an entire new population, that our population's doubled, we have more people that aren't from Canada, you know, aren't born in Canada, who really, and what he said too is that when you move here, you need to be Canada first. Yeah. You're not a Turkish American. You're not an Israeli American. You're Canadian. You're Canadian. Canadian. Yes, number one. That's first, you know. And now if you look at the number of people that are here, there's so many people that have just come here in the past 20 years that half the country is in Canada first. You know, that's a pretty shocking number if you think about that. If our population's doubled in the past 20 years, that means half the population that is here wasn't born here and doesn't really think of Canada as their first place, you know what I mean? And like we talked about, you said you met that guy in Calgary before. So there is some immigrants who come here, and I like to think that there's quite a few because I've met a whole bunch of them too that are absolute beauties, and they're like so thankful that they're in Canada and were provided sanctuary and a chance to you know, reach their dreams and stuff, which is what Canada's supposed to be. And I love talking to those people. I love hearing their stories and stuff. But I feel like a lot of the people that do come here now are here to take advantage of what we have, and then they go back to wherever they came from, or try to bring over more people to take advantage of it and don't ever fully assimilate to being Canadian. They don't plan on being Canadian. They don't think of themselves as Canadian. Yeah. You know? And that's a real problem, I think, man.
That's a massive problem. I mean, you know, I remember seeing on the news, some guy was being interviewed in Ontario. He was black Muslims from somewhere in Africa. And he was explaining that in their culture, if a woman walked around wearing almost nothing, that to rape her wasn't a break of the law, right? And you know, when it comes right down to it, I'm gonna let you know a little secret. The Liberals and the Democrats don't want you to know. Conservatives aren't against immigration. Conservatives are against immigrating other countries' problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
We got no problems with people coming here to build a better life for themselves.
100%, man. We want it. I want it. I love meeting people that come here, man. I love meeting people that come here and actually trying to learn our ways or learn our culture. It's not that you need to leave your culture behind, but you're certainly not going to put up barricades from us expressing ourselves in the way that we have forever. You know what I mean? And it all started, I think, like quite a while back when all of a sudden Merry Christmas was unpopular. You weren't allowed to say Merry Christmas. You know, it's Happy Holidays and stuff. And now Happy Holidays is everywhere. And you don't see, very rarely do you see Merry Christmas. You're not allowed to say Merry Christmas at a lot of stores around Christmas time when you go in there. Yeah. You know, it's crazy. I asked the guy the other day when it was Christmas time here last month, he was saying Happy Holidays to everybody. I was like, Merry Christmas. He's like, we're not allowed to say that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Unbelievable.
I was like, what are you talking about, man? Like, for fear of offending people that moved to Canada to get away from wherever they came from. It's like, embrace the culture that you moved to. That's why you moved here. Like, you know, you don't have to get rid of your culture. We're totally down. You can celebrate whatever holidays you want here.
Yeah.
But you're not going to take away the holidays that were already here, like Christmas and that. You're not going to make us feel bad about celebrating them. No. That's completely wrong.
If you move here from another country and you invited me over to your house for dinner, and you brought me over and you made dishes from your country, I would be like, wow, this is really good. I'd love to taste the dishes from your country.
Yeah.
But if we go to a restaurant and you start telling me that I can't eat something unless it's halal, or else it's against the religion that you follow, like, you can just fuck off with that shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's not
right.
That's not what Canada is, you know. And we shouldn't be afraid to express our way of life in our own country, you know. Mm-hmm. So I think that's been a problem. And the Liberal government basically started all this stuff by letting that stuff, by acting like that's a priority. We need to prioritize that kind of stuff, you know, not offending newcomers and stuff. It's like, no, they need to assimilate to Canada to be Canadian. Mm-hmm. And most of them, I'd like to think that lots of people come over here, that's what they want. Mm-hmm. You know, because they think that Canada has an identity, even though he says that it doesn't. You know, they want to come here and learn our ways, because we did have a pretty awesome country up till about 9 years ago. Yeah. You know, we had a pretty solid country, man. And now it's just a melting pot of drugs and crime and tent cities. In every city out there, there's just tent cities galore. Same problem. I mean, they're facing it down in the States too, but they actually have somebody at the helm there now who's in a team of people who seems like they're going to do well. That was actually one of the things that they talked about in the Jordan Peterson podcast too, which Jordan was trying to nail down to. And he's like, you know, one of the things that Trump did this term is that he has an exceptional people around him. Mm-hmm. You know, they're very exceptional. He said the people like Musk and Vivek and stuff. He's like, those people and RFK, like, who's your cabinet? Tell me more about your cabinet, you know. And he named off a couple of names, but it's like, I don't know who they are. Yeah. You know, I wish he was like, we need to get Kevin O'Leary in there, or some other people who know something about business, who aren't scared of the woke culture and stuff, you know what I mean? And he actually said another good thing. He's like, how do we know, Pierre, that when we elect you as a prime minister here in Canada, that you're not going to go all globalist like every other prime minister has, like, you know? And Pierre said, he's like, because I know better. And then Peterson's like, elaborate. Yeah. You know, like, what does that mean? And he's like, I understand that the temptation is extremely hard as a prime minister, because after you become prime minister, now you need to present yourself on a global scale. Mm-hmm. So you need to make a name for yourself globally too. Yeah. And how people have done that in the past is like how Trudeau was doing it, you know, trying to be part of this globalist nation, trying to make yourselves like that. Like, and he's like, and I'm going to make it so that people in the Conservative Party aren't going to be doing that. He's like, we're not going to be part of all these groups globalist groups and stuff, which is awesome to hear, you know. And I hope that anybody did say, but he's like, but do not underestimate the pull that these people have. He's like, you know, but he said he's not going to do it. He's like, we're not going to do it, and you know, but he's like, you're right to say that though. It's like that there is a lot of pull. And Peterson actually asked some great questions to him, as you could expect. Yeah, the guy's brilliant. But yeah, Pierre, he handled it really well, man, and it was pretty sweet to hear what he was saying, man. And I think that with all the stuff going on with us becoming the 51st state and everything else, I think in the end, when Pierre gets elected, it needs to happen though. Like, I'm kind of worried about the length of time now that it's prorogued till March. Trump gets elected on January 20th.
So our first 2 months, he's actually Trudeau's still in power.
Yeah, he says he resigned. I love what Pierre's been saying. He's been beating the drum about it, but he's like, we need to have an election now. Yeah. Regardless if they have a leader or not in the Liberal Party. He's like, the citizens of Canada, 45 million citizens of Canada, aren't required to wait for them to figure their shit out. And that's what he actually said in the interview. He actually let out a swear. Yeah. He's like, we do not need to wait for them to figure their shit out. Yeah. You know? He's like, they need a leader, and the country should be voting on who that leader is going to be, not them. Because basically what's going to happen is they're going to vote for the new Liberal leader, then that person's a prime minister. Yeah. Until we have an election.
And then we have to have an election called.
Yeah, so that whoever they're bringing in is going to be the prime minister for a short time until the election happens, which is scary shit. And that's what Pierre's talking about. Like, no, and I hate it, but it's so true that, like, right now, our citizenship and stuff, the people in Canada, and just in general, have such a short-term memory. Mm-hmm. You know? They're going to be like, by March already, it's like, what happened back in January? What did Trudeau do the last 9 years? Was he bad? I don't know. This new guy sounds like he's got a whole new plan. And I would not be shocked if the Liberals got voted in again. Honestly, I wouldn't be, Nate, because how retarded people are and just so short-minded. You know, it's like all they have to do is present themselves in a new light, act like they had nothing to do with anything that Trudeau had planned this last 9 years. They were totally against it, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll come in even a more radical agenda, you know, especially if that Carney guy gets in.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Neefy's got a little bit of a cold, guys.
A little bit of a head cold.
Got a little cold. Yeah, he's fighting her down, though, with those big old muscles. He's fighting her down. You should see the calves on this guy. You can barely get a pair of jeans on this guy.
He's not lying.
Yeah. Just tearing the jeans up.
I wear loose-fitting jeans, and they fit like cowboy jeans, but it's okay. They go with the cowboy boots.
Yeah, attaboy. Yeah. But yeah, here we'll see what happens, man. That's my one concern is that it's basically like Pierre was saying. It's one of the most undemocratic things that'll ever happen in our country is that if he resigns and all of a sudden they put in a new Liberal leader and that person is the Prime Minister, who was unelected by any of us. You know, we didn't get our say in it, so it needs to happen. That we need to have an election. It needs to happen sooner than later because Trump absolutely hates Trudeau, and he thinks he's a weak weasel of a human being. And guess what? He is.
And he's got every right to hate him.
Oh, 100% he does.
The things that Trudeau has said about Trump while he wasn't in power, I mean, if it was up to me, I'd be burying him too.
Oh, for sure, man, 100%. Yeah. And I think that is a lot where this talk comes from the 51st state. Sure, he's talking about taking over Greenland and stuff too, and like calling it the Gulf of America, changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and stuff, right? Hilarious. He's going to make changes, and good for him, you know. But I think that this is all a lot of talk until Pierre gets in there. I feel like Pierre and him are going to be buddies and they're going to work real well together. Yeah. Pierre wants to make resources more available. I actually just read something the other day where he because Musk came forward and was saying he gave Pierre his approval and was like, I really like Pierre. I hope he gets elected or whatever, right? Yeah. Pierre tweeted back to him saying, build some Tesla factories down here in Canada or whatever, right? We'll build your Tesla stuff for you. So, nice. You know, hopefully that can happen, you know. And I think that he's very open to that kind of stuff. And I think that once Pierre gets in, the relationship's going to be real good between them.
I sure hope so.
But it's just getting to that point, man. And it's like, what if I've pretty much lost faith in humanity at this point, man. Especially in like with our Canadian, I don't know, man. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that he was voted in this last time. Like really shocked. I really thought that there's no way people are going to vote Trudeau in again. And now that he stepped down, like because there was quite the uproar. People are like waking up to it, right? But what's going to happen in 2 months, Nate?
I think, you know, if you look at it, the last election, one thing for you Americans out there you may not know about Canadian politics is we have this weird thing in Canadian politics where if a prime minister is doing really good in the polls, they can actually choose to have an election. They can call an election anytime. So if they're doing really, really well, they can go, well, let's call an election now.
Yeah.
You know, and when the last time Justin Trudeau was voted in was when he had everybody in Canada absolutely terrified of what was going on with the C-19 stuff.
Yeah.
And he was giving away a ton of our money. The reason we're in such bad shape now is because what he did during COVID, he was printing money and giving it away. Mm-hmm. He was giving everybody money and he had everybody terrified. He was giving everybody money. He was doing good in the polls because everybody thought he was fighting off this virus really, really well. And so he threw an election and he won.
Yeah. Which is crazy, like Nate just said. So I think that time he was 2 years into his next term.
Yeah. We also got really unlucky, though, because we had a conservative leader at that same time. And I'm a member of the Conservative Party, and I remember his name was Aaron O'Toole, and I actually voted for him. And, man, that guy broke my heart.
He was a real letdown, man. He had no backbone and completely went back on everything that he said.
Yeah, when he was going for the leadership of the party, he sounded perfect. Mm-hmm. He was pro everything that was good and anti everything that was bad. And then as soon as that was done and they went into an election, it was all over and he folded.
Yeah.
He folded on everything. He was going to get rid of the carbon tax and then he said, well, we'll just change the name of it so it's not called the carbon tax anymore. And he was going to get us all our guns back, and then he's like, well, you know, we might have to hold off on that. And he broke down, and because of that, he didn't have the following. Right?
Yeah, nobody really cared anymore because they realized if this is already going on, you know, what are the chances of this guy actually doing anything that he said?
Yeah.
And that was a major letdown too, because it was already at that point, it was whatever, 7 years of Trudeau, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, so it's like now we got this clown again, and it was just. But this is the guy, man. Pierre's our guy. Even on a world stage, Pierre's our guy, man. Everybody likes him who's listened to him. So
you know what's really funny when after Aaron O'Toole. I mean, I'm sure that I had nothing to do with this, but I like to think that maybe he came across this. But I sent Mr. Polyev an email after they decided to pick it, because they kicked Aaron O'Toole out because he was so bad. The Conservatives were like, you're shit. Right?
Yeah, because he's not even an MP anymore, right?
No, so he's like gone.
Yeah, gone.
And so they kicked one, and the Conservatives have the power to do that. They can kick out one of their leaders. The Liberals can't. Mm-hmm. That's why they have all this thing now where they tried so hard to get him kicked out for so long. They have no way to actually do it, but the Conservatives do, right?
Yeah.
So they got rid of O'Toole, and then they were having another vote, and I sent Pierre a little email, and I said, you know, and Pierre always said that he wasn't ready to go for the leadership, because I've been following him for years, always liked him. And he said he wasn't ready to go for the leadership because he had too young of a family, is what he always said. And so I sent him a little letter, and I said, sir, I know that you've got a young family and that your family is very important to you, but I just want to let you know, sir, that your country needs you. And I like to think maybe he read it.
Yeah, maybe that gave him a little bit of wind in his sails, eh?
Yeah, but I doubt it.
Yeah, who knows, though? Who knows? But we do need him, man, more than ever now, you know. And I think that's what they said is like, how hard is it gonna be? One thing that Pierre did say during that interview too with Jordan Peterson, he said he needs our help as Canadians. Once just because he wins the election, it's not over. Yeah. That's just beginning. He needs us to pressure our mayors, our premiers and stuff to keep the fight up, because it's not going to happen overnight. There's going to be a lot of pushback on him being a Conservative and trying to push through some of the mandates that we need as a country. Because everybody's still, man, this whole freaking equality, every fair play, everything's got to be equal. Wokeness is like in everything, right? So it's like you can't. It's like a cancer that's in our country right now, dude. It's going to be really hard to weed it out. But that's where it needs to start. Is that everybody's got to keep standing up. This is because he wins. Because he's gonna win, you know, fingers crossed, he's gonna win. But we need to keep up the fight after that. Keep talking about it. Keep making it public. You know, don't let up and think that just because he's there, everything's okay now. And if it doesn't happen, everything doesn't happen in the first 4 years or first a couple of years. You can't lose faith in the guy and kick him aside. It took Justin Trudeau 9 years of wrecking this country year after year, and people still voted him in. Like, we got to give Pierre time to build this country back up, and that's one thing that's good. It's a sad thing, but it's going to take a long time to dig us out of this hole that we're in, man. We're in a real hole here. Like I just said, our richest province it makes less money per capita than the poorest state in the United States, Mississippi. That should shock everybody and show you what kind of predicament we're in, man. We're not in an easy thing that's like, okay, now we got Pierre and here everything's going to be just rosy. It's like we got a real uphill battle, and we gotta stick with it, man. So we'll see what happens here in the future, man. I'm really hoping that Pierre. He says that he's got the backbone to stick with her. Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping for, man. I'm hoping he does, and you know, he said that he's developed a real thick skin. That stuff used to bother him, but it doesn't bother him anymore. So that's a good point.
You ever seen the Canada debt clock?
Oh yeah, it's constantly going up. Yeah.
So this is an interesting thing. I just wanted to pull this up here quick. But I just brought up, it's called Canada's debt clock. And I thought this was kind of interesting. So our national debt, so we got 45 million people, right? Yeah. Our national debt right now, and this is going up by the second because of interest on, you know, on not real money. Where are we at here? Billion. 1,246,669,890, and the rest of it.
That's our debt right now?
That's our what? Canada's federal debt. 1,246,669,902, and look how fast it's going up, dude. 905, 906, 907. Jesus, it's going up more than $1 a second, right? Now it gives you your share. Your share. Every Canadian citizen, $30,000 in debt is what our government.
Oh my God!
If we wanted to pay off our debt tomorrow, every Canadian would have to put in $29,752. The growth of debt per day for Canada, 109 $1,863,013. Per hour, $4,577,625. So this is what we've never. Justin Trudeau has put more debt in place than any prime minister, than every prime minister in history combined. And that includes the prime ministers that had to fight World War II.
Yeah, that is completely insane, man. And the only war he had to fight was
against tampons in the men's room.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say about against law-abiding citizens coming in a trucker convoy to.
True story.
You know, and then he stole all their money.
Yeah.
Too. So I don't know, man. We had basically a what would be a good word for it, like a feminist tyrannical government over the past 9 years. But it was like he's a fake feminist, he did it under the guise of everything keeping us safer, that we need to be better to each other, of equality and everything else, all the gender nonsense. And it's like, that's how he enforced all these rules and was able to do all this stuff. In the end, it's like through fear. Like that's his number one thing, right? He divides everybody so that everybody's scared of something, so that's how he stays in power. And fear is like, it's a powerful thing. So they don't, I think we might have mentioned this in a past one, but it's like one of the, fear is like the most powerful thing that a government can have, right? It's like, because then they don't have to take all your stuff away. You force them to, you force the government to take it away, you know, and that's what happened underneath the vid, is that like people were forcing people to, their friends and family, to get the old jabber. Yeah. And you know, he took money away from truckers and other people that wasn't his money to take, man. No. And how that all went down, it's like shocking. That money got donated from people all over the world that were donating to that cause, you know, because they understood how crazy it was. And he shut it down, called them extremists and Nazis. And
was it Jagmeet Singh's brother actually donated a whole bunch?
Did he?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
He said it was an accident.
Yeah.
He accidentally donated.
Yeah, it's not like it's a one-click thing.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty shocking thing though, man. Like what happened here, when you really look back on it, I think I hope, you know, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I hope in like, you know, when we get near the end of our time, Nate, you know, 50 years down the road, when we're looking back, that Justin Trudeau is looked upon with absolute shame, where people are like, I cannot believe what a problem Canada was in at that time, and how bad and how deceived they were, how easily deceived they were by Justin Trudeau, you know, because the things he did, Nate, were so undemocratic and he's just pulled every trick in the book, you know what I mean? And it was all under the guise of making everything more equitable for everybody. It needed to be fair and all this stuff. And it was the complete opposite, man. One thing about like socialism that people don't ever talk about, it's not like when you're in socialism, they're going to like, because, you know, right now we have the lower class, we have the middle class, and we have the upper class, you know, the upper echelon. So people like to think that when socialism comes around, that everybody's going to be up here, you know, everybody's going to be making it. No. Everybody's going to be way down here, below lower class, you know, and that's really what, and then you're just scraping for scraps. That's what socialism is in every place it's ever been put in, ever been tried. That's what happens. And people are so delusional about what communism and socialism is. It's like they think that it's just like this going to be this happy-go-lucky place where everybody gets the same, and it's like, I despise that stuff, man. It's like, you know, people need to think about it. Like, you think we're all going to be Elon Musks? Is that what you guys think? You know, we get socialists and everybody's going to be Elon. We're all going to be jet tripping around, you know, going on vacations all over the world. Nah, we're all going to be here. All going to be barely scraping by, can't make ends meet, fighting for our daily bread, which is kind of what the middle class has dropped significantly in Canada. Yeah. You know, there is a lot. I think the lower class, I was looking here the other day, so our combined household income, so entire household, that's nowadays in Canada, there's usually 2 people working in each household, is $60,000. Yeah. Which is not a whole lot, Nate.
No, it's not.
You know, it's like pretty crazy. That's with amount that our dollar is worth basically nothing here at the moment.
I think it's like 69 cents American.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah. Horrible. And the amount of how everything's gone up here so much, and it's going up again. even though Trudeau's resigned, the carbon tax comes into effect here and when?
That's it's pretty quick.
Yeah, like it's going to be going up. It's going to be going up again, and we don't even get a chance to vote on it.
No.
So it's like we're going to be paying more already. The amount of tax we have, Nate, that's one thing to me. It's like, I think that's one of the biggest downfalls of social media, man, is like everybody's so distracted on this stuff. We would have been going to war with our government already if this was 100 years ago. You know what I mean? People would have been going there with pitchforks and torches and being like, what is going on here, you guys? Like, you know, we need to clear this place out because you guys are clearly corrupt as all hell. Our country's gone to shite. We got no money. You're taxing us out the anus. We are taxed well over 50% of our income. Yeah, when you look at everything, every tax that we have going into play here.
And taxes on taxes.
Yeah, and taxes on taxes, man. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy what we pay. I think we might, at the end of the day, I think we're somewhere around 60, 70.
That would not surprise me at all, man.
Yeah, it's wild.
I don't know how they want get their grubby mitts in every little bit of our income. You know what I mean?
Oh, and do you remember me? Did I tell you about the new housing? The new change of use housing taxes here in Canada? Oh,
that they... I think you did mention it. Tell me again. No, yeah.
Yeah, so they instituted a change of use housing tax in Canada. I think it's gone through the Senate and still has to go through the House of Commons, but it's probably... Or it might actually be in already. I'm not too sure on that one, but at any rate, what it does is it makes it so that if you are renting out your house as an Airbnb or something, because Airbnb has to report to the government everything, right, for taxation purposes, so they know you're using it as an Airbnb.
Yeah.
If you decide to stop using it as an Airbnb and move somebody into it as a rental, then you have to, on paper, sell the house to yourself because you're doing a change of use from one type of business to another type of business. So you have to sell it to yourself and pay capital gains.
Oh my God, man.
And then if you decide, I'll just live in it, then you have to sell it to yourself as a change of use from business to personal use, and you have to pay capital gains and GST.
That's despicable. Yeah. Absolutely despicable, man. Like, what? I can't believe this is happening in our world today, and people are letting this go on, man. Yeah. That's a shocking... It's shameful, man. It's shameful. They get their grubby mitts and all this stuff. Not only that, it's like you sell your car, it gets sold again when personal use, then they got to pay taxes on it. You sell that car gets sold 6 times in its lifetime, it needs to get paid taxes 6 times in its life. You know what I mean? Houses, same thing. House gets sold, they're getting taxes on it its whole life.
Yeah.
It's like, how many times are we going to let them tax us on taxes on taxes and taxes?
And if I'm not mistaken, on a used vehicle here in BC, I know when I bought my motorcycle, it's 2017, a few years back, I had to pay 12% sales tax on it because older vehicles get charged at a higher rate.
It's disgusting. It honestly is, man. It's shocking. That's why moving down to the States would not be such a bad thing, man.
No.
The more I look at the States, the more... I wasn't anti-American in the past. I was real pro-Canadian when I was younger. Like, I thought Canada was honestly the place to be, and I was like, free healthcare, the whole thing, you know, it's like, but the older I got and the worse Canada has gotten, like, we have free healthcare here, but for real operations, you're going to be dead by the time you get it.
Yeah.
You know, if it's like, or you're like, you know, you're going in for a simple knee surgery or something like that, you're going to be waiting 2 or 3 years to get in.
I'm actually waiting for two minor operations, like not life-threatening, but 2 operations myself. And I'm looking at I'm on a 2-year waiting list on both of them.
Yeah, it's horrible, man.
Yeah,
and they don't incentivize us getting like more hospitals. They send all of our money away and everything. You know what I mean? Like, we should be the most prosperous, richest country in the world.
Yeah.
But because of all the bad decisions that they've made, you know, we're in such bad shape that, man. It's looking real appealing to move down to the States. You know, it's like they got, especially right now with this government, I know it changes hands and everything. It could change later on, but the States has the Constitution.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've learned is that Canada's not like, I used to think we were very similar to the States. You know, like we were equally as free, but it's surprising how much more control our government has over us and the stuff they could do. I didn't realize back when I was a kid because I just didn't look into it, but how easy it would be for them to take our guns away. How easy it is for them just to all of a sudden say, oh no, we're going to take away the truckers' money and we're going to freeze all their bank accounts and stuff like that. Like shocking stuff.
Freeze the bank accounts of people who donated.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like literally people who, put in $10 towards the trucker convoy to keep their trucks running in the middle of the winter so that they could protest peacefully with bouncy castles and making pizza on the side of the road.
Terrorists.
And we took their bank accounts away.
Yeah, it's horrible, man.
We ran people over with horses.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought in police officers, and that broke my heart too. I've always been when everybody was like defund the police after
the George Floyd.
Yeah, the George Floyd incident. Everybody's like defund the police. I was wearing a Canadian flag with a blue line on it. That's what we had here in Canada. That was a stand with the police.
Yeah.
They're doing a tough job, and we got to stand with them. And then when I saw during the trucker convoy when those police officers on those horses, they ran over an old lady.
Yeah.
I mean, they pushed people. It's so freaking unconstitutional. It's so just wrong.
Yeah, it was big time. I seen all that too, man. I was shocked too because I was the same way. When I was younger, when I was like more liberal in my views, when I was younger, I was never anti-police. But when you're a punk and you're a punk kid, you're like, fuck the police.
Fuck the police.
It's like you always think that they're up to no good. Man, they're always on me. It's like, because you're doing stupid shit. Yeah. That's their job, is to be on you. But the older you get, you realize, like, no, cops are, just like everything else, they're human beings, man. Mm-hmm. It's hard when to me, I've always held them on a pedestal and stuff, too. It's like, they're like superior human beings in my mind, you know what I mean? But they're not. They're just as fallible and just as everything else. They have problems, and there's bad people who become police officers for the wrong reasons, and there is police officers out there who become it for the right reasons, and they do a great job and they want to protect and serve. But I didn't see a lot of them standing up against it during that, and that was what really, really upset me, man. I didn't see anybody coming forward and saying, putting their job on the line by speaking out against it. Mm-hmm. And I know it's hard to do. Everybody's got a family to raise and stuff, but it's like, we were talking about that in previous podcasts where it's like, when you see something wrong, you need to say something regardless. You know what I mean? Whether it's not culturally accepted at the time, if it's morally right, and it is, you got to say, what are we doing here? Yeah. We're running old ladies over with horses because they're sitting here in bouncy castles protesting what they believe is right, which we all know in our minds is probably correct.
They were right.
They were. And then magically, after that happened, right, they went through with all that stuff, took all the money away. Then he comes out, well, they're still down there, and says that he's not gonna restrict he's not gonna make them use because he was talking about getting like vaccine passports to have to travel between provinces and stuff at the time, right?
That's one of the things that we're fighting against.
Yeah, and it was then he said, okay, we're not going to do that. Has nothing to do with the trucker convoy. As they're there, it was like clearly it was, and it was very effective, and it worked. But they went through all that stuff. I'm pretty sure that Tamara Lynch or whatever her name is, and another one. I'm pretty sure they're in jail.
I'm not too sure if
they were, or maybe they're still fighting it. Maybe I don't know.
Recently,
yeah,
but there's still court cases ongoing.
Yeah, crazy, man. They didn't do anything wrong, man.
No, and the whole use of the special powers during that trucker convoy was deemed as unconstitutional. But unfortunately, Canada has nothing they can do about this.
That's right.
Like the law basically comes in and says, like, imagine if the law came up to you, if you were in court and a judge came up to you and said, yeah, you murdered that guy, but geez, they forgot to make a consequence for it, so go free. Yeah. That's what happened to the Liberal Party.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
They were found to do something unconstitutional to their people that they had no consequences for.
That was our January 6th down here. January 6th in the States famously had everybody were storming the Capitol and everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was mostly non-violent, to be honest.
People open up the doors.
Exactly.
They stayed on the designated
Dude, it was unbelievable. There was people guiding them around like it was a tour in the States, And it was, here in Canada, if you ever look at any of the videos, there was never crazy stuff like that going on. There was a bunch of trucks, a bunch of horn honking and stuff, and they blocked some roads and stuff, But there was a lot of people. Somebody defaced a statue down there, and they hung a Nazi flag on it, and of course the media right away was taking pictures. Look, it's a bunch of Nazis, and I guarantee you that was a Liberal person who did that. Because you know what happened? As soon as people noticed that was going on. They washed the statue, took it down. Then they made people stand guard around the statue so that stuff didn't happen anymore.
Yeah, they were actually protecting.
Yeah, protecting the monuments and stuff like that, which is complete anti-liberal thing to do. You know what I mean? Liberal demonstrations always turn extremely violent. You look at
flags on fire,
dude. Looking down in the States, the Ferguson, that shit down in Ferguson, where that guy, what's that kid's name who ended up shooting those two people? Oh man, I can't remember his name, but they made it seem like it was race related. The two people he shot, they were both white. One of them was like one of them had just got out of jail. He was a pedophile or something. And another guy was also had a criminal record. They both had guns and were both going to attack the kid.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse, yeah.
It's like it was insane that it got to that point that a kid had to go stand guard at his uncle's freaking car dealership because the rest of the world wouldn't do it.
In my mind, that kid's a fucking hero.
He is a hero, man. He stood up for it. I remember posting about that when that first came out. I had people on my Facebook trying to light me up, being like, "Are you crazy? Fucking kids out there just wants to go kill people." I'm like, "Are you crazy? How are we both seeing this with our eyes? We come to these conclusions." Did you see what was happening there?
He didn't kill anybody.
No, he shot those two people who were trying to kill him. Legitimately.
The one literally had a gun.
Yeah, and they screamed out, "Let's fucking kill this guy."
He was wearing a hat that said ambulance or something, so they thought he was like a first responder.
Yeah. Well, and a gunshot rang out right behind him. The guy's like, "Turn around, drop your gun," or whatever. Fired a shot in the fucking air, and he turned around and was like, "What the fuck? These people are chasing me now, right?" So a guy came up, he shot the guy. And then he was like going away down the street. Everybody's following him. A mass of people following him down the street. One guy comes up to attack him again, and he shoots him. You know, and he waited till it was like point blank. He didn't pull a trigger from 100 yards away. He just started firing off rounds at people. You know, and honestly, you got to give the guy props for trigger control.
Oh yeah,
like
I mean
that many people, man. Yeah. Jesus, man, he didn't hit anybody that he wasn't aiming at.
The fact that he was able to keep his shit together enough to only fire at the people that were actually a risk to him.
Because he did kill one guy. I'm pretty sure. Maybe he killed two.
I think so.
He's definitely shot. I'm pretty sure the first guy he shot in the head.
Yeah.
Right? And that was the guy who fired the gun, though.
Yeah.
Dude. So it was like, he was defending himself, you know. And then translate that. So that's like liberal violence, honestly. The whole city was on fire. And they were doing that under protest. It was around the George Floyd times, you know. It was like, completely Antifa, all that crap, you know, BLM, and they were all those riots and everything, because that's what they were. They were riots. Those weren't protests. Those were riots. Those were allowed to go on. Meanwhile, you transition down to here to Canada. They have bouncy castles and trucks honking their horns.
Yeah, and they even stopped honking their horns after.
Yeah, after a while, because they're you know, disturbing the peace or whatever. So they stopped doing that.
Okay, we'll stop honking the horns. We'll just have the bouncy castles.
Yeah, exactly.
Making pizza and burgers on the side of the road.
And Trudeau called them terrorists.
Yeah, they used some of the money that they were donated to give food to a homeless shelter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, positive stuff. You know, and that's a conservative protest. And you go look at those ones down there, and it's like that's how stuff gets destroyed. All the ones here, like the burning the flags and all that craziness here. It's like those people don't get talked about though.
People actually, Palestinians actually threatening to kill people, death to America, death to Canada.
Just free speech, though.
That's just free speech,
just free speech.
Nothing happened in there.
No, as long as it's liberal stuff, it's free speech.
As long as you don't put up a bouncy castle.
Yeah, God forbid you put up a bouncy castle. That means war.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so that's the difference. I don't know, it was such a crazy time, man, and it's like, and I don't feel like we've really moved on past that.
No.
To be honest.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah, I don't think we moved on past that. I think that's still, for me, that still harbors a lot of distrust and everything. You know, after all that happened, it was like, how can we trust our government?
Yeah.
If they have that much power, I didn't realize they had that power, Nate. I didn't realize they could take money out of people's bank accounts for nothing. People who donated money, they could... Let alone that they're even tracking everything. You know, we hear about it because of our phones and everything. Mm-hmm. They're legitimately tracking everything we do and say. And that's shocking too. It's like, you guys got nothing better to do? There's a lot of stuff that needs attention out there, guys. You know, why aren't you doing that? You're so concerned on keeping control over people who have a voice against them. Mm-hmm. Then instead of actually going out there and trying to fix the problems that Canada has. So it's like, Texas is looking real good.
Texas is
looking real good. You know,
At the end of the day, I've put a lot of thought into this over the last couple of days. We've been having a lot of talk at work about what we would do if Canada became the 51st state, and there's a lot of people who think it could never happen. There's a lot of people who think it should never happen, and I'm open to the idea, but I've been doing a lot of thinking on it in the last little while. And, the last 9 years of Justin Trudeau has taught me that we have been very lucky in this country because prime ministers in this country have always had the power to be tyrants, but he's the first one who's ever actually taken it.
Yeah.
And the problem is that even if we get rid of him, that doesn't mean this isn't going to happen again in the future. And that scares me.
I think inevitably it is going to happen again in the future.
I think inevitably, yes.
Yeah.
Especially with the way the world is going. I think we're on a correction right now where the whole world is going right. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to get over there, fix a few things, and the Liberals aren't going to come back in and pull the steering wheel again.
It will. And that is the problem, That's one thing about the States that's nice. It's like a catch-22. Because you use it like that. It first started happening back in Roman times, They were only allowed to have a term or two, and Caesar was like, I ain't gonna step down. They ended up killing Caesar because he was like a great ruler. Everybody agreed that he was a great ruler. But he's like, I'm not gonna step down because times are real tough. So they ended up killing him. But it's like right now, man, like how the States is, it's like Trump's a beauty. Mm-hmm. Their whole team's a beauty. You know, I'm really excited to see what's gonna happen with them. And I hope they live up to the expectations.
Me too.
Because, I really do have high expectations for them to make some real change and actually drain the swamp. I want to see people go to jail.
Yeah.
I want to see people that were pushing all this stuff behind the scenes. I want to see media people go to jail. Mm-hmm. I want to see politicians go to jail. Mm-hmm. That's really what needs to happen, man. There needs to be a healthy fear from government that their citizens aren't going to take this shit anymore. And they better start acting right and being honest with their citizens about what is going on in the country, or else there will be consequences,
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that that's... Because Elon's like super open to transparency. That's what he wants, So I think that they're going to be very transparent about the whole thing that's going on there. And I want to see that, but I'd like to see when there's a good leader in, if we ever get one that people actually care about, like maybe Pierre's the guy that can last for a long time. That's one good thing about Canada. It does have that in it too, Nate. That it's like you do ever get a great ruler, ruler. I don't even like that term. It sounds like ridiculous, but you get a good prime minister or a good whatever. They can stay in power here in Canada.
There's no term.
There's no term limits. So if everybody keeps voting for them, they could be in power forever. You know what I mean? Or for
such a double-edged sword.
Yeah, but you get a guy like Trudeau, and with all these weird stuff that's going on. So apparently, I just learned this too. To vote for, if you want to vote for who the next Liberal leader is going to be, you don't even have to be Canadian.
No.
You just need a membership. You could buy a membership online, and you can be Chinese. You could be from China, and you can decide who the next Liberal leader is going to be, which is insane to me.
That's fine.
How is that allowed at all? It shouldn't be allowed at all. It should be. There needs to be some safe stops to keep that stuff from happening. And I did recently see some conservatives speaking out against it, saying like this is something that the Liberals apparently put in play that made it possible to do this, which is not surprising at all, but that there needs to be something done to make sure that this isn't happening, because I would like to think that even most Liberals don't want election interference, because it could happen eventually. It could happen the other way. I know right now it's been a lot of election interference happening in their favor.
Yeah.
But eventually it can be the other way. And I don't want that either. I want stuff to be fair. That's all I want. Both sides. I want it to be transparency and fair.
True democracy.
Yeah, true democracy, man. And we need to hold the people accountable that are, and that goes for everybody, man. That's what's upsetting. It's like, I'm worried that once Pierre gets in there, nothing's going to happen to Trudeau. Most likely nothing will.
I sure hope that something does.
I mean, after holding all these documents, not giving anything out, he's done a bunch of illegal shit. Yeah. And actually, Peterson said that during that interview. We've talked about this. Might have been on the podcast, but definitely in private. But that I think when Pierre gets in there, he's going to find out that it's a lot worse. Than what's actually been we've been led to believe. And Peterson said that to him too, and he agreed 100%. Pierre said, "I know it is. Yeah, I know it's going to be a lot worse than what we've been led to believe." And people want to say like, oh, that's not very democratic, or you don't want to. No prime minister has like charged previous administrations and stuff. It's like nobody's done what Justin Trudeau has done.
No.
And if I don't think that it's fair or morally right to let that stuff go. The fact that he did all this stuff and is acting like, it's no big deal, laughs about it all day long, and it's like, dude, you know how much money he's worth now?
It's huge.
Dude, so it's been 9 years. I don't know, we should almost look up, maybe we should put it up here, Nafi. How much does the Prime Minister of Canada make every year?
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up on my phone.
Let's find out.
And then
So right now, or when Justin went in, JT went into power in 2015, he had a net worth of $3 million. Fast forward, it's 2024. I read this at the end of the year. He now has a net worth of $95 million.
Wow.
So he's gained $92 million in the past 9 years. Basically $10 million a year. He's gained in.
So $10 million. Wow. So only about 300 to 400,000 of that was his salary. Yeah.
So where did the other 8.7 million come from every year?
It's a little crazy, right? So I remember while the C-19 stuff was going on, I remember that I was listening to a radio. I was down in Vancouver actually, and I was listening to a radio station, and they were talking about how Justin Trudeau had, and this is true, he ordered more shots per citizen than any other country in the world did, right? But it turns out that his family actually owned one of the research labs that owned the patent to a part of the vaccine.
So he's getting money for buying.
So he's getting money for buying all the shots, right? So yeah, I mean, so there's a little bit of that. I mean, we look at the WE scandal, how much of that made its way back to
SNC-Lavalin.
SNC-Lavalin.
The whole thing, man. Everything had ties to the Trudeau Foundation, all this stuff, and it's like, just that alone. The fact that because he hasn't even got to give speech. Obama, everybody leaves office in the States, they become absolutely loaded afterwards, right? Because lobbyists pay to get them in there, and then they pass bills that are favorable to the lobbyists who got them in there. Then after they get out, they'll go give them speeches where they'll go give a half an hour speech, they'll give them $5 million. And it's like they go give a bunch of these speeches, and that's how presidents make their huge incomes afterwards. You'll see that a lot of them, when they go into office, they're not worth that much when they leave. After they leave, within a few years, they're worth $100 million. Trudeau was in power, and somehow his net worth has jumped to $95 million. And he hasn't even got to that part yet, where he's supposed to be giving his speeches and doing all this stuff where he's supposed to be making money. He's supposed to be just getting his freaking pension. Or getting his salary, which we just said was $300,000 a year, $300,000 to $400,000. So say he made the top, $400,000. We're talking $9 million a year. He's up 92 million he's made in the past 9 years.
Unbelievable.
Like, where does that money come from? And how can we not hold him accountable for that?
Yeah.
That should be pretty easy to track down. Here's a little inkling. We must have hired some more people we don't have an IRS here. We got the CRA.
Canada Revenue Agency.
I had to pay a ton of taxes last year for no apparent reason. All of a sudden, I ended up owing money when I had to go pay taxes. And I just got a thing that a couple days ago saying that they reassessed, and I still owe them another $1,500.
Yeah.
A buddy at work that I work with as well said he got one too. He owes like another $3,500. So
crazy.
If they can go through and reassess all of our little guys who don't make any money, they can reassess our taxes. I'm pretty sure you can go and investigate JT and find out that he is corrupt as all hell, and where did he get his money from? You know what I mean? Like, that's people that they should be investigating, because clearly they're up to no good.
So I mean, you look at the WE scandal, right? And for everybody out there that doesn't know what the WE scandal is, it was kind of a big deal here in Canada, but you probably didn't hear about it in the rest of the world. The WE is a charity. It was run by a couple brothers, and they were given government contracts for I forget what for, but government contracts to do some work. And they brought in Justin Trudeau's mother and his brother, and they were giving speeches at WE charity events, and they were making upwards of like $1 million a speech, right? So you can see where that...
And they were giving them all the bids.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like they were bidding on jobs that they were getting. They
Yeah.
were just giving them to these guys, which money went back to Trudeau's family in the
Yeah.
end, right? And it was clearly a conflict of interest, you know? So...
And companies giving money back to the Trudeau Foundation when they're... I mean, the amount of just sketchy ass shit that was going on under Justin Trudeau is unbelievable. I mean, I don't think it would take the police 5 minutes of looking through some government files.
Yeah.
So there's some charges here.
Exactly, 100% there is. There's no doubt. I don't think there could be a doubt in anybody's mind that a regular person would be in jail.
Yeah.
A regular person would probably be in jail for a considerable amount of time. And he's not. In the States, he would have been impeached a long time ago.
100%.
You know, 100% he would have been impeached a long time ago. Look what Clinton got impeached for. You know, a BJ.
Yeah.
You know, got impeached back in the day for a BJ.
Yeah, it was an expensive BJ.
Yeah. You know, Trudeau's done much worse than that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, much worse than that.
Just crazy what he's done.
Yeah, and he got away with all of it, man. Teflon Don. He's like, there was no recourse, no repercussions, and I just really hope that when Pierre gets in there and they find out how bad the corruption was, that he's held accountable, man.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I miss about the old days, the Wild West days. It's like, shit might have been more dirty. Hygiene wasn't all there. But we damn well held the people accountable because it was like, you know, we got nothing else to do. We got no TV occupying our time.
And if we didn't like how people were being held accountable by the authorities, we would go hold them accountable ourselves.
Damn straight, man.
String them up on a tree.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's, you know, metaphorically, what we need to be doing today. Like, we need to be...
A little bit of frontier justice isn't going to hurt anybody.
No, man. I think that's going to bring back some trust.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to Zuckerberg was on the Rogan podcast here, and I was listening to part of that, and he said that even he was talking about it, you know, how hard that they pressured him during the COVID, that Facebook got pressured hard to take down anything. He's like, stuff that we knew was correct.
Yeah.
And they were forcing him to take it down, you know. And he said that over the past, it was funny because he was kind of backpedaling on some stuff. He was like, he wouldn't admit that the Hunter Biden laptop story might have been election interference and stuff, and then you know, could have changed the course. And he like wouldn't really touch on that and how, because they removed all that too.
I guess we're never going to find out.
No,
exactly
but they did take it down. You know,
Yeah.
Facebook did take it down, and we're acting like it was fake news, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he wouldn't even really talk about that part. Joe brought it up, and he kind of just like brushed it aside and was like, wouldn't talk about it. But he did say, like Zuckerberg did say, like, you know, no, the trust in the mainstream media has been completely eroded. Like nobody, the vast majorities of the population do not trust what the media is saying, and rightfully so. They've lied about everything. Or skewed it in their own way. You know, they'll cherry pick facts, not tell you the whole story, and that is the truth. You know, and people who aren't willing to see that, it's so hard to talk to them. You know, because there's still a few people, few diehards that are still like, they want to. I think it's because they have too much trust in people. They want to believe that that's not possible. It's not possible that people are corrupt like that. You know, that people are that they wouldn't be found out. If that was a lie, Nate, they would know about it. People would say, you know, hey, you can't talk about that. You're on CTV or CBC or CNN.
Yeah.
You can't spread lies. But it's like, that's literally all it is an enormous propaganda machine that's just been fired up a million times since social media has come up. And especially because they were kind of talking about this, but since social media has come up, it's like people have slowly realized that this is where they get their news from now.
Yeah.
You know, but they don't get their news from them. So they've tried like real hard. The government's like, we need to figure out how to control this somehow. So that's why they tried doing all the fact checking and stuff like that, right? They had to get, and Zuckerberg said, he's like, I felt really strange being like, so I'm the decider of what's true and what's not true?
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't like that, you know?
Yeah.
I kind of believe him in a sense too, because how he was talking about it, he was like, it's incredibly complex and difficult, you know? He's like, we have these things, you know, everybody can agree. He's like, you don't want terrorists on there enlisting terrorists on Facebook, you know, being like, come over here and fight for Al-Qaeda or whatever. So he's like, so we got to try to filter that out. So he's like, but there's literally billions of accounts, you know? So he's like, but we got to filter it out. So what do you do? He said that they create an AI program to kind of sort through and pick out keywords and whatever else. And then they have this thing called the classifier. And he's like, you turn it up to say 99% and you're gonna catch you're gonna catch people that are catching terror, trying to enlist terrorists and terrorist activity and stuff like that. You're gonna catch some of them, but it's not gonna be as many. Say you take the classifier down to like 85%.
Yeah.
You're gonna catch way more people, but say it's 15% of them, so one in every or 15 out of every 100 are going to be ones that aren't actually breaking any laws. Because it's like you dropped your percentage down.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing to regulate, because either we could all agree that we don't want that. So it's like you have your thing set so high to say 99%, only 1%, of the counts they delete, are going to be a mistake. But they're going to catch fewer terrorists that way. Yeah. They're going to be able to delete fewer things and look at fewer content. Because if you lower it down to 85%, you're going to take down more, but you're also going to have more people that didn't commit a crime and that didn't.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a tough thing to regulate. And I get that. You're looking at, he said, in a month, you have the entire population of the planet has used Facebook in a month, per month. He said it's like 8 billion or whatever, right? It's incredible.
Yeah,
it's the amount of people. So he's like, so say you do that at take it down 85%, you're talking millions and millions and millions and millions of accounts that are getting deleted and getting banned because you've lowered the classification down to 85%.
Yeah.
And though all those accounts didn't do anything wrong technically, they're not selling drugs or they're not terrorists, but for whatever reason the classifier picked up their account. Yeah. And they got removed. So he's like, so then they're fired up, and rightfully so. And he's like, and rightfully so, they should be.
Yeah.
He's like, so now, he's like, we're kicking it back on a couple of things. He said they're still like keeping up on terrorism and all that, but he said as far as like political stuff goes, they're not fact checking on stuff like that, political ideology anymore. He said like they're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
And he said
which is great.
It's great, yeah. He's like, people are giving me trouble now because it's like just after the election. He's like, there's no good time to do it. Am I supposed to do it in the middle of the election? In the middle of in the middle of Biden's thing? It's like, when are you supposed to do it? He's like, there's no good time, so I'm doing it now.
I think I was looking. I watched an article about Mark Zuckerberg. I read an article about Mark Zuckerberg and the pretty obvious things he's doing to change the way people see him nowadays. Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed he's starting getting into MMA.
Oh yeah, he's in MMA.
And he's he's changed his haircut to look a little bit more, less like business suit and more casual. Yeah. And I think he sees the way the tide's going, right? I think I've been saying for a while that the world is steering to the right. Yeah. Right. Or maybe even closer to the center, because we were so off to the left. It's crazy. But we are headed off to the right now, and I think he sees that. And I actually thought that was great when he said he was getting rid of the fact checkers. From what I read, so he's getting rid of fact checkers, but he's allowing they're putting a system in place now where it's community driven.
Yeah, just like X, he said.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have community notes. He said it's far better platform. He said I thought that theirs was way better.
And when I saw that Dana White is now on
on the meta board.
On the meta board, like that's the hugest thing to me.
It is, dude. You know why he did that? You know why he did that? He said because we need a formidable force to understand how to fight back when the government is pushing for censorship and stuff. And he's like, Dana is very strong about that, and he doesn't put up with that shit. Yeah. Like, look, when they were all when Dana was voting for Trump and they were saying, people were calling him sponsors of the UFC, saying you need to take down this post. Dana was like, fuck you. Yeah. Flat out told them, I ain't taking shit down. You know what? You vote for who you will vote for. I'll vote for who I want for. Vote for. This is America. Yeah. When Theo Vaughn, the comedian. Yeah. Theo Vaughn he had Trump. He interviewed Trump during the upcoming to the election there or whatever. Mm. And he had a sponsor, Peloton, these bikes that just sit on and pedal or whatever, right? Yeah. They got the screen on them or whatever. They called him immediately and said, you need to take this interview down, or else we're going to leave you as a sponsor. And Theo was telling Dana this as they were interviewing him. And Dana's like, he's like, first he didn't even tell him who it was. He's like, we had a sponsor, and after the interview, he's like, who was it? Dana's, who's the sponsor? Yeah. And he's like, Peloton. He's like, Peloton? He's like, what do they make, fucking stationary bikes? He's like, and they're going to tell you that? He's like, hold on a second. He yells over to one of his people. He's like, what are our bikes in the gym? Are they Peloton in our UFC gym? He's like, yeah, they are. He's like, I'll tell you right now, you can film this, Theo. We're throwing all the fucking Peloton bikes out of the gym today. Nice. Fuck those guys. They're going to tell you. Yeah. And it's like, he had his back, man. It was so cool to see. And he was fired up, man. He was mad. He was like, no, If they're going to do that to you, Theo, we're throwing their bikes out. They're not allowed to do that. This is America. Yeah. And it was like, man, that is so awesome to see how he had Theo's back, man.
I remember, too, there was some fighter who said something. I can't remember which one it was. But then Dana White was getting interviewed, and he said, and the interviewer asked him, somebody asked him if, are you going to let your fighter say things like that? And he's like, I don't fucking tell my fighters what to say. Yeah. My fighters can say whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, that was Sean Strickland.
Yeah,
because he said something against the trans. It was here in Canada.
Right, that's right.
Dude, he was fighting in Canada, and he was like, he just went off on Trudeau and off on transgender shit. And, it was just, the question the reporter asked him was insane, too. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember watching it at the time, and I was like, you don't know who you're fucking with. Yeah. Strickland do not care, man.
No, he gives zero fucks.
And he went and fucking said that, and then, Dana had his back, man. Yeah, another time they were in there, there was two black guys in the ring together, and they were dropping N-bombs to each other. And, of course, it's always a white reporter, too. Like a Karen who's always got to say that you're hurting the black community or this and that. It's like, you don't ever hear them saying that. The people who are black actually saying, hey, stop that. So it's like, why are you getting involved for one? But the guys is like, what do you think about the racist undertones of tonight's card? And he's like, racist undertones? What are you talking about? He's like, well, during that Adesanya and the other guy, they were dropping some pretty racist language. He's like, they're both black. If they want to say that, they can say it. He's like, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to fucking tell them what they're allowed to say. And that is like why Dana's so loved, man. He's such a strong guy. His character, he might have done some shady shit. Who knows? We don't know. There's some fighters who say,
I've heard there's some issues sometimes.
He's running the business, He's running the business. And he's brought it from famine to one of the richest.
I remember the UFC business. When they first started.
Oh, they weren't making any money.
Yeah, where he's brought it is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's all amazing. Because of him, man. Yeah. A huge part. I mean, the Fertitta brothers at the beginning they were $25 million in debt. Mm-hmm. And they were on Spike. He tells that story all the time, but they were going to, they actually asked him, go see what you can do, see if you can sell what we can get for the company or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're going to sell it out. And he went out and he's like, we can get like, $5 million or something for it. And they were $25 million in debt. And Lorenzo, the next day, he went in there and he's like, talked to Lorenzo Fertitta. Lorenzo Fertitta's like, fuck it. We're all in. Yeah. Let's fucking go for one more season. He's like, if it doesn't work after this, like, we're broke. Yeah. The last season of The Ultimate Fighter. Yeah. And they had that Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner fight on live on Spike TV, man, and it just fucking shot through and been a success ever since. And you've had him as a front man, And the cool thing about Dana is that he's been on the shows, like on The Ultimate Fighter when it first came out. You got to see his personality. Yeah. He didn't mess around. And what he said, he meant it. And he's at every press conference. The guy's life is crazy. He's a super busy guy. Yeah. Traveling around, dude goes to all the fights, sits there, watches all the fights. So he's super involved and he's been like a public figure his whole time. So I think that Zuckerberg has seen that too, like how formidable he's been and all the opposition Dana's faced. Yeah. And never back down from it. Mm-hmm. So he's like, man, we need a guy like this on our board that's not going to bow down and cower when this stuff happens. And he's like, how do we do it, Dana? Tell me your secret.
And see, that shows me too that at least about this part of it, Zuckerberg is telling the truth. Yeah. Right? Because he's also put himself into a place where if he backs down, Dana White's not going easy on him.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
Right? So he's set himself up, so he's got to do what he said he's going to do. Exactly. He's put a gun to his own head.
That's right.
Right? So if he backs out, Dana's going to rip him. Yeah. So, that shows me that choice, and Mark Zuckerberg's smart enough to know this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that tells me that choice is something that, he feels is the right thing to do.
Yeah. I think so, man. And I think that's, pretty cool. I just actually read that today that Dana was in.
That's pretty cool.
The meta board there. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah. That's a pretty sweet acquisition on their part. I imagine they're paying him a pretty penny to be on there, too.
Oh, probably.
Just for that alone. Like, he doesn't know anything about computers or anything about that, right? Yeah. But his knowledge about how to fight back against this kind of stuff, man, is unmatched pretty much. Because people have been trying to make, they were trying to make UFC illegal right off the bat. But John McCain and everybody, they were all against it, right? He pushed through all those barriers. And now look at where it is today.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's the best sport out there, in my opinion. It's the only one I watch still, faithfully. Sorry, Uncle Dana. I don't buy all the UFCs anymore because I just can't afford it. Canada, she's tough going here.
We got no money here.
Yeah, we got no money here.
We can't afford to. We got nowhere to live, so.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, Dana. But I keep up. I watch all the highlights still and follow all the news on it, right? Like, it's the one sport that I do follow. because it's the one sport that I do think isn't rigged either.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of sports are probably rigged, man. I have a hard time. People used to tell me that about like, because I don't know if they are. But like football, and all of a sudden stuff started coming up on my feed with like there'll be like refs making completely ridiculous calls that you're like, it's so obvious that it wasn't a foul or whatever, right? And it was like, that was pretty suspect, you know.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're talking about who's going to win this game and they're refing and stuff. So it's like, it's possible whether that's the league itself doing it or refs that are just bought out, like boxing judges were bought out a long time ago. That's one thing about boxing. It's like Dana talks about that actually quite a bit. Is that a lot of the judging in boxing, those guys are like, used to be like the mafia and stuff, you know, would be like, you know, we're betting against this guy, so make sure that this guy, you know, loses or whatever. And people would throw fights. Yeah. Boxers would throw fights. He's like, UFC don't.
Boxers throwing fights is as old as boxing.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah.
That is one of the easiest ways to make money off of a sport, especially with boxing. Because boxers, when you're up and coming, you don't make any money.
No.
Right? And you're living day to day, and you want your chance, but you know at the end of the day, if something comes up and says, "Hey, we'll give you $10,000 if you throw the fight."
Yeah.
You got kids to feed at home. You might throw the fight.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so
yeah, it happened. It sounds like it happened quite a bit. You
Yeah.
know, enough that Dana's like talks about that boxing being so corrupt, you know, the judges, the reffing, and the PM, the fighters themselves.
Yeah.
But the UFC doesn't, you know, I've never seen, it's pretty hard to fake a head kick knockout. You know, and not a lot of guys are willing to take that kind of punishment. You
see the broken,
battered, bleeding, huge gashes in their freaking faces and stuff. It's
broken arms, broken legs. Like I feel
legit.
Like it's for real.
Oh yeah, dude, it's definitely for real, man.
It's not like in the WWF when they used to have little razor blades.
Give yourself a cut.
You know, and
she was entertaining.
Yeah, it was entertaining as hell. Like I was heartbroken when I found out WWF wasn't real.
That old Stone Cold in the Rock days.
Oh yeah.
I used to just get ecstatic. You hear the glass break. Psh, old Stone Cold come on. Coming down there. Oh shit.
Yeah.
That was so awesome, dude. That was cool times, man. If you smell what the Rock is cooking, and he just comes storming down the Brahma Bowl. That was peak WWF. Like it was WWE by that time probably even. But yeah, that was peak, man. It was the best it ever was, and it was pretty entertaining to watch, man. It was something special. You know, you could clearly had a pretty good idea. So yeah, the guys it's fake. You know? Yeah. But they put themselves through hell to make it fake.
Oh, for sure.
There's no faking Mankind getting frickin' choke slammed through the top of the cage.
Yeah.
When he was fighting the Undertaker back in the day, or jumping off. So that was one match. I was watching a thing where, because Mankind has a podcast now.
Yeah.
He had Undertaker on there and they were talking about that.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, he climbs to the top of the cage. Mankind does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, how am I gonna? Undertaker goes up there and he like looks up. He's like, this wasn't in the script, man. How am I supposed to get up there? And he's like, we go walking up on top of the cage. The fucking cage is zip tied to the posts. That's only how I was up there. He's like, you can see us walking on it and we're breaking through it. And he's like, he choke slams Mankind to the top of the cage and it just fucking breaks, dude. He falls right through all the way 20 feet to the ring. Boom. And he's like, oh my God, I just killed this guy, right? He freaking goes down there like, are you okay? You know, like just takes his time getting down. And there was like a bunch of tacks and stuff on the ground and stuff. They end up going back up to the top of the cage. He tells him, throw me off the cage. And he's like, what? That's the rock player. Like, they were just making this happen. That's when he threw him off the top of the cage onto the desk, the announcer's desk at the bottom there, right? And destroyed that desk. But it's like, he was totally messed up. He dislocated his shoulder. Yeah. He was fact, man, after that, right? And he was like, they still went on back into the ring and he pinned him and shit later. But he was like, there's no faking that. Like, that was legitimately, sure, they knew who the winner was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But that's about all they know going into it, right? And they were like improvising all that Undertaker said, where he was like, I didn't know that this was supposed to, and the cage definitely wasn't supposed to break, you know what I mean? We weren't supposed to be up on top of the cage. The cage is supposed to keep you in the ring, is what the cage is for.
Have you ever heard of it? Do you know what a shoot is?
A shoot?
A shoot in wrestling?
Oh, yeah. When they shoot in for takedown?
No. What a shoot is every once in a while, maybe a wrestler's wanting too much time or wanting to win too much and he's pushing for it too much.
Yeah.
They'll do what's called a shoot. They'll tell him, okay, you go in there, you're winning this one. Right? And they'll send him on his way. Like, they'll go up to his opponent and be like, he thinks he's winning this one, but he's not.
Yeah.
Take him apart.
Yeah, nice.
Right? They call that a shoot.
Okay.
That's when you end up having a real match where they actually go at each other because he thinks he's supposed to win.
Yeah.
And the other guy's trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Right? And they do that to put their wrestlers in their place.
Yeah, okay, when guys get too cocky
when guys
or whatever.
Get too cocky,
that's pretty cool.
They'll do a shoot on them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, fuck. Do you remember, I don't know, do you remember, like, what was that old wrestling in Calgary? Stampede wrestling. Stampede wrestling, right? Yeah. That's where, what, Bret Hart?
Yeah.
The Hart Foundation, so the Stampede wrestling came to our high school once when I was a kid.
Came to Fox Creek one time, too.
Yeah, and my fucking dad... My dad was fucking nuts. My dad was crazy. He was weird. Sometimes he liked sticking up for people. And so one of the wrestlers, I don't know who it was. I was really young, right?
Yeah.
One of the wrestlers was outside of the ring, and the guy picked up a chair and he smacked him on the back with this chair. So my dad got up there and he went up and he punched this guy in the face. And one of the announcers was like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Stop, he'll kill you."
That's awesome. Oh, man. That's sweet. Your dad's like, I need to get in this.
And the wrestler's like, what's happening?
Yeah, what is going on? This guy just a bystander?
Yeah. So they calmed him down and put him back in the seat so
that's hilarious.
The could keep going. Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking.
That is so funny.
We thought it was real back then.
Yeah. Right? That's so funny. This is how much of a POS I was as a kid, man. I feel bad about this to this day, dude. The Stampede Wrestling came to Fox Creek. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. My parents let me go there. They didn't come, right? It was like I was there by myself, I think with a couple of friends. I was like 10 or 12.
Yeah.
I knew it was bullshit. Mm-hmm. I knew wrestling was bullshit. And honestly, whoever was there, guys, you didn't put on the best performance. You know, I apologize to you. But I was just screaming at this guy. Same thing. They hucked a guy out of the ring. And he's kind of grabbing him by the hair, walking by me, and I'm just screaming at this dude. I'm like, "This is fake! This is fake!" Just like nonstop, right? And he comes over to me, makes somebody go over. He's like, "Calm down, kid. We're trying to put on a show here." You know? And I was like, "Okay." Oh man, I was like, "This guy's doing." I'm thinking about it after, that's that guy's life.
Yeah, it's his
it's his whole life and livelihood, and I'm just a little kid. You're fake.
What's he gonna do? Stand there and go, Jesus, fuck, he's right.
Yeah, I better wrap the show up.
What am I doing with my life?
Well, for all I know, he went off himself afterwards because poor Donnie was just hollering him out for the whole show. What a dick, man. Yeah. You're like, oh man, I wish my parents would have been there to wrangle me in, but I was just probably out on my own for the first time, just a kid. Woo! Screaming at some freaking guy in a Speedo. Yeah. You're fake! Oh man. Yeah, I felt bad about that one, but what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah, you live, you learn. Yeah. But it's funny the stuff that sticks with you, eh?
Yeah.
That has stuck with me. I'm like, I feel bad about this to this day. If somehow that guy's still alive and didn't off himself after that guy, because I apologize. I hope he sure didn't. Because that's what I feel like when I think back. I'm like, I must have made that guy feel like a real piece of shit, that he was doing nothing with his life. You were entertaining people.
Jesus, you're yelling at him, telling him he's fake. My dad's punching him in the face.
Yeah.
The same guy, right?
Yeah, it's probably the same circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a month later he was down in Fox Creek.
Yeah.
But that guy was trying to provide a service for us. He was doing something out of, he loved it. He was passionate about wrestling. And there's this kid just screaming at him like, you're fake. So,
and they do get passionate about it, right?
Oh, yeah, they do. He wasn't too happy with me.
So it's not real, but it's something that they take serious, really, what they're doing. And, these guys go to Japan. They go all around the world. They wrestle all over the place. It's that's a huge... And I don't think that you do something like that because you want to, because there's no money in it.
No.
Right? Unless you're huge up in the WWE.
Yeah.
There's no money in it.
No.
So it's something that you're doing because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you're trying to inspire little kids like me, and instead you're just getting screamed at. In a shitty little town of 2,500 people.
Yeah.
You think that's going to be the biggest thing they've seen all year, and they're going to be... I'm kind of choked that none of the other parents took me aside, too, and were like, calm down, Donnie. They all knew who I was.
Yeah.
But everybody was just letting me just have free reign to scream at these kids when I'm like 8 or 9 years old, right? Oh, man.
Nice.
But that stuff sticks with me, though. I feel like I was did something bad, hurt somebody's feelings.
Well, we all do bad things when we're kids, right? I think at the end of the day, this is something I've learned. I'm going to get all serious on you for a second here.
Yeah.
Something I've learned is we do stupid things when we're younger, and we have to forgive ourselves for that.
Yeah. It's hard, yeah. I did hear something like that, too, where it was JP, old Jordan Peterson, was talking about it, where he said, if you did something 12 months ago and you're still feeling about it, that's an unhealed wound that you need to fix,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about something from frickin'
30
years ago, and it's still... I have a hard time forgiving myself about things. I do. I'm like, I play it back in my head all the time where I'm like, man, I should have done this differently. I hurt this person's feelings. I have a real hard time with hurting people's feelings. That's why I was a terrible salesman. too. Because like I'm putting myself, not so much like I'm hurting somebody's feelings, but it's like you're lying to somebody.
Yeah.
To me, lying is like the ultimate no. I'm not a good liar, dude, and I'm proud to say I'm not a good liar. Yeah. I don't like lying to people. I never have, really. Like, I can't. I can play a game of poker. But when you're telling me, like, I'm going to tell you a lie to your face, I feel bad about it. I'll think about it for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, honestly. I just can't. I hate it, man. I hate it. So when I'm going out to do sales to somebody where I'm trying to sell something on them, like a company that I was working for in the past or whatever, it killed me. Killed me to do it, man, because I couldn't. I was just like, man, I know that I'm lying to this guy, telling him that I'm going to provide him this great service, knowing that the people I have back here that I'm going to be sending out are not going to do what I said they're going to do. You know, because I'm good at talking to people. You know, I could. Everybody always says it to me, man, you could be a great salesman. You get along with everybody. It's like, yeah, I could, but my personality, it prevents me from doing it because my morality is like, no. I can't lie to people, and that's all salesmen do. Is lie to people, you know, and they don't care. You know that The Wolf of Wall Street, with the old Leo, based on a true story, right? That to me is like now the scammers in India that are calling all the time to everybody and scamming people, and they're just at home, like The Beekeeper, that movie that came out. You know, that's real stuff where people are just, that's what they do, and they got no problem stealing people's life savings. To me, that is a salesman. That's what those people are. Basically, is they're salesmen. You know, if they're trying to sell this person on, this is, you know, here, you give us your banking information, and we're going to make you rich.
Yeah.
And they have no problem stealing everybody's money, you know what I mean? And that's what it is. To me, it's like, that's a problem, man, in our world.
For sure.
You know, and it's like, that's really what's happening, too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's like, people are okay to do that. Then where's the morality? I think about that. I think about stuff from grade 7. Where I'm like, man.
Were you there at work when we were talking? I don't know if that was before you came back or when we were talking about all the AI.
Yeah.
The AI scams.
Oh, yeah.
Online with like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Or,
how is that allowed? Somebody let us know in the comments here. Because everybody says that it's because there's just too much, you know, they're rerouting their stuff everywhere. But I was thinking about that after we were talking about it, Nate. At some point, like Samsung, the Play or whatever, wherever you buy your apps from, they're letting them advertise on there.
Yeah.
Like somebody's asking to advertise on there.
Yeah.
There's a way to track There's a way to track it somehow. You know, because it's not like we don't have ads on there. Google Play.
Yeah.
It doesn't just randomly show up there. You know, it comes from something.
Somebody's paying for that.
Somebody's paying for that. So somebody allowed them to put that ad on Google Play. How are they allowed to do that? Because I know Mr. Beast ain't doing it. Keanu Reeves, my boy Keanu, is not telling me to go play Plinko app.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make $1 million. And there's this other guy walking around, this Russian guy comes out, points at his nice car. You want this? You download this.
Yeah.
Walks in, points at all his nice watches. You want this? Download this.
Yeah.
And then to a whole mansion. Walks around pointing to the mansion. You want this? Download this Plinko app. And it's like Mr. Beast talking on a Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
And they're saying that this is, you know, you can retire. He said you'll make over $50,000 each day doing this.
Yeah.
How is this allowed?
I don't get it.
Like, that should all be illegal. Those are clearly scams that are on there and that they're perpetuating the problem. Because Google Play needs to be held accountable. If not them, Google Play needs to be held accountable. Somebody's got to be held accountable. People are doing that.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah, I know there's at least one guy here in our town that, I won't say who it was, but that I know of that, actually, there was the Elon Musk one where it was an interview that he did when he was in his factory, and they're changing the words, and they made it into basically, if you invest with me, I can return all this, and I know of at least one person who lost their life savings. Yeah, they invested in that Elon Musk.
I almost did do an Elon Musk one back in the day when it first came out. He was talking, it made a lot of sense. It was like an AI investing thing, right? Instead of so it's like AI will track your stocks all day. Yeah. And then it chooses which ones it's going to invest in and stuff. It does the day trading for you. Yeah. And it's like, it makes sense. There probably is something like that because there's got to be. Yeah. With all the AI that's out there, there's got to be an AI that's doing that for something. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. Of course Elon would do that. He's brilliant. I filled out a thing online. Didn't put any info in, right? Just had my, I think I had to put in my phone number or something like that. Immediately I get a phone call. Yeah. But he's like, okay, let's get your banking information. We'll do this right now. I'm like, what? We're going to do this over the phone? Yeah. And I was like, and he's like, well, you need to do it right now. If by the end of the day tomorrow, there's going to be no more. You cannot get in limited time. Very, very special position.
Yeah. That's
I'm like,
I get you.
This is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. He's like, no, you're gonna be regretting not doing this. Just like kept going off, and I could tell him like,
no,
there's zero chance that this is real. You know, as soon as that happened, and I was like, immediately was like, you're so stupid for even believing.
Yeah.
For a second. But I was like, because I love Elon.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like thinking that Elon would be suing these guys.
Yeah.
That's in my head. I'm like, there's no way Elon would be letting somebody, because this scam is still out there.
Yep.
And it comes up on my YouTube videos all the time.
Yeah.
Where Elon's, how is this not, somebody not suing these people?
So if anybody knows how they're getting away with this, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, please let us know, because and I'm sure that you guys know exactly what we're talking about. Anytime you're playing Google Play or watching stuff on YouTube or on any platform, these ads come up about the Plinko app and they're stealing people's images and trying to get you to buy stuff with that. Like, that's got to be illegal, and I'd love to know. Let's get a class action lawsuit against them, because they're ruining people's lives, you know, left, right, and Sally. And there's got to be something. They got to be held accountable, too. Yeah. Whether it is YouTube themselves or the company.
It's horrible out there. I mean, the amount of scams that are out there are crazy, right? And there's, it used to be, you remember that old you get that email from that lady who was she was married to the prince, and the prince got killed, and if you just give her your banking information. There was a guy in America that got hit by that one like 3 times. And the police are like, what are you doing? Yeah, exactly. Like, come on, man. Like, it's not true. Yeah. Yeah. That one to me was like noticeably. Yeah. You know, it's like, this is obviously. But you know,
AI's come a long way.
My dad calls me one day. My dad's 82, 83 years old. This is a few years back. So let's say 80. He gives me a call one day and he says, hey, I just got a voicemail. Amazon called me and they said there's a problem with my Amazon account and I just got to clear up my banking information. He says, I don't have an Amazon account. Should I call him back? Like, maybe I need this. Yeah. I'm like, no, do not call him back.
Yeah, because this is a scam. Real. I got one yesterday. I got called from a thing, because this is how it happened too. To find out, Nate, like how because our data has been leaked. Yeah. Right. Somehow our data has been leaked, which is when you hit the accept terms on all those freaking games and shit that you gotta on TikTok. You know, they share all our data with everybody.
You know, it's surprising too how many legit places are sharing your data.
Oh yeah.
Like they're compiling, your bank is probably compiling some of your information and selling it.
100%, man. Yeah, I had one the other day, Visa, saying that your Visa, you need to call us right away. I'm like, I don't have a Visa. Mm-hmm. What are you talking about? Yeah. You know, and it was like, my lady had only a couple days before that, and it's funny because the numbers are local numbers now too. Yeah. Like I had one that called me a little while ago from an old Fox Creek number. Mm-hmm. Like same area code, same first digits of Fox Creek's phone numbers. Which is like, what the hell? How are they calling from that?
They got apps that can do that now.
Yeah, like... Yeah. So it's not just like a 1-800 number, you're like, I'm not answering that anymore, you know? It's like, I was like, oh, maybe I know this person. I answered it, and it's like, oh, no, you owe us something, you know? That's usually how I get it, but it's hard to tell, but it's like, you know, usually it's like a foreign person doing it, but that doesn't mean anything, because most of the companies you call here in town, have foreign-speaking people on them anyways. And it's like, how do you know what's true and what's not anymore when somebody does call you? You know, it's like I don't want to not pay if I owe somebody money legitimately or there's something wrong. I want to make sure it gets fixed. But it's like I can't trust anybody for anything anymore. Yeah, I don't know what's real and what's not. Especially it's hard with the AI, man. I can't imagine what it's going to be like in 10 years. Yeah, if they don't wrangle this in now, what's it going to be like, man? You know, because the only thing that I can catch right now. A lot of times, the mouths don't line up. Mm-hmm. You know, when they're talking?
With the words.
Yeah. But that's going to change.
That's going to change.
You know,
if you've seen the difference, you've seen the difference between AI 2 years ago to AI now.
It's huge.
It's huge. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's crazy what they're able to do. You know, you give it another 2-3 years, especially with all the different... like we get into quantum computing. I mean, they're gonna be able to real time it.
Dude,
you'll be able to FaceTime somebody. You'll be able to FaceTime fucking Elon Musk.
Yeah, and you think
he'll be telling you how great this is.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, that's scary, man. That is gonna be happening though. And what are we gonna do? What are us lonely peasants gonna do? You know, when we can't decipher reality from fiction anymore. You know.
I do have a couple of things that I recommend, and I think these are going to be quite important in the next couple of years. I believe I talked about last podcast that I was very much into crypto myself, cryptocurrency. I believe it's very, very important that we don't allow our government currencies to become cryptocurrencies, though. No digital currencies. The second you allow digital currency, you're allowing way more control over what you do, allowing way more control over your money. And the other thing is digital IDs. I think those are two things we're going to have to be super careful with.
I think that's inevitable.
Right. I don't disagree with you, but I think we got to fight it as long as
we can. I agree 100%. But I think that's exactly what they want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we might have talked about this, but I think that is the goal. I think the goal is to pump as much inflation out in every country. The feds are just pumping it out so they can be like, this is unsustainable. We need to make a one world currency. You know, that's the only way to fix it, is to create a new currency. It needs to be a one world currency. And that's their end goal. And they think long term.
Yeah.
You know, we think one lifetime. They think in multiple lifetimes. So it might not be in our lifetime even, Nate, but that's the game plan.
Like, even if you're looking at it right now where we're talking about, you know, we were so far left and the economies of every country just got fucking ruined during this, right? And then now we're heading over to the right and we're looking at maybe trying to fix it, but maybe this is the long-term goal. Because like I was saying with that debt calculator, we're at a point where our great-grandchildren aren't going to have that debt paid down.
No.
So we can't add to it anymore, ever.
Yeah.
Right? Or else we're never getting rid of it.
That's right.
So maybe that is the long-term goal. This is like, it's swinging back to the right, yes, but they had to ruin our economy.
Yeah.
And that's what they had to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, if you think, if a lot of you out there might be looking at this and thinking, you know, it's kind of crazy talk or conspiracy theory, but you want to see something crazy? Go to the UN and look up the World Economic Forum and look up what they're trying to do. They've listed it there.
The Great Reset.
You can read this on the UN website from the World Economic Forum. They tell you all about the Great Reset, Agenda 2025 or 2030. Now I think they might have changed it to. But yeah, this is on it.
There's secret meetings around the world all the time, and you can go like, this is fact. They have this meeting called the Bilderberg Group. You know, there's not a specific people that are in the group. Some people, there's a lot, always prime ministers and presidents and stuff. Heads of CEOs, new companies, new startups. It'll be the heads of that company will go there. Important people. They're very secretive. Like, they don't even know where it's going to be. Somehow there's a few people, independent people, who figure out where it's going to be. The security is unbelievable. They never talk about it in the mainstream media, which is how, to me, you know there's some shady shit going on. When they know about it, you talk about it, and the media won't even go there.
Yeah.
You know that they're told, because their bosses who own the media companies are there at that freaking thing, right? But the people, stuff that has come out, I watched a thing where a guy was there. I can't remember who it was. He said he was in one of them. This is like a long time ago. Yeah. This is in like 9/11, right around that time. And he said that they talked about in that meeting how they were going to go to Syria and all these other places. Look what happened. 15 years later, there they are. They're going into all these other places too. So it's like, they think long term. They don't think 6 months down the road, what are we going to do? And you know, they might talk this year. What are we going to finish doing this year? But they're also looking long term, and they talk to all these people, and man, everybody's a puppet. So like, I don't know who is the end person pulling the string. It's very hard to say, but I know that whoever owns all these Federal Reserves is one of them. Yeah. You know, and who owns all the media companies? You know, that's another one. BlackRock. You know, that company. Their CEOs are always involved in it. They own more. They have more assets than most countries do. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of people. They don't want to look at it as a thing, Nate. That's all real. None of that shit's conspiracy at all. No, that's real, 100%. You can look it up. It does exist. These meetings happen. There is super influential people that go there, and they're not allowed to talk about what goes on. There's the Bohemian Grove in California. Alex Jones, who, you know, most people rightfully so think is a nut job, and because he said a lot of outrageous stuff over his career, he got kicked off all platforms because he said that one of the school shootings was a hoax or whatever, right? And he got thrown off all the platforms, got sued for $1 billion. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Which is completely insane. But then they wanted to go and say that. So Alex Jones got thrown off for $1 billion, but then all the mainstream media was saying that Trump's assassination was a hoax. Yeah. Nobody's getting sued for $1 billion there. No. You know? It was a Sandy Hook one that he said that was a hoax. He said that there was actors playing that were out that they were interviewing, which really did look like it too. Like he showed several shootings from the past where they had similar people who looked almost identical that they were interviewing on the street.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't people that were. He didn't say that the shooting didn't happen, but he was saying that like they had people that they were interviewing were actors, and obviously, people took that too far and were going to actual students who got shot, going to their houses saying that you didn't have a kid. It was pretty crazy, terrible. And I feel terrible for those families too, you know, because it's like, yeah, it clearly happened. Those people lost children, you know what I mean? And I don't think that's what he was trying to ever say. But so getting back to the Bohemian Grove thing, one of his things that broke him out was showing that like there's a lot of crazy conspiracies going on. There's a place called Bohemian Grove in California where it's a super secretive club. Almost all presidents have gone there, CEOs and everything, right? Everybody thought it was a complete bullshit. He snuck in there one year and he got a video called Bohemian Grove. They worship an owl god and they burn a person, an effigy of a person, and float them down a river where they're doing all these chants. You should almost pull up, Nate, and post it up here when we do it. Bohemian Grove, worshiping the owl god. There's like another guy snuck in not that long ago where they're still doing this to this day.
I'll see what I can put up.
Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see it. That's just even, you type that in alone, Bohemian Grove with the worshiping the owl god Mola or whatever the thing's name is. But But he walks around with the hidden camera, right? And once he snuck in at first, people didn't recognize him because he wasn't Alex Jones time. Nobody knew who he was. Yeah. And he was sneaking around, and they all have different cabins. There's like president's cabins and stuff, right? So he goes into like where George Bush's cabin and everything, where these people are staying. And there's a lot of gay shit that happened there, apparently. Yeah. You know? Like that was like one of the things. It's very weird how that comes into play everywhere. The Diddy stuff, it's like... Yeah. So I don't know if that's similar... What was going on there, where they would like trap people, video them doing something, and then be like, "Now we hold this over your head forever, so you know we own you." Could be, but it's like that's what they're doing. And then they're basically like Christianity has nothing. They like talk about how they worship this owl god, and he's the one you know it's pretty sketchy shit. And you tell people that, they're like,
that's pretty wild.
What are you talking about? You know,
but
that's real.
Absolutely. I've actually I have a picture in my head. I've seen.
Yeah.
I've read about this before as well. Do you remember the film, the movie, The Usual Suspects?
Yeah.
There's a line in there that I always remember, and the line was, "The greatest trick the devil ever played was making us believe that he didn't exist."
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and you know there's a lot of religious people out there. I think the vast majority of the people who are listening to our podcast probably are at least somewhat religious, and if you are going to agree with the idea of Christianity, you also have to agree with the idea of the adversary, right?
That's right.
Satan.
Yeah.
The highest held angel in God's circles, and he was cast down, and he's there.
Yeah.
Right. This is satanic rituals and satanic
cults and stuff
are still like that's a thing.
It's a big thing, man. Big thing, man. And that power is out there too, the evil power, man, the yin and the yang, right? So it's like those people. I was watching a thing recently where somebody was talking who was like, it might have been a priest or a pastor, but he was saying, you know, if you think back in the day when God smithed like I just had it in my head, Sodom and Gomorrah, yeah. He's like, there's way more sin going on now. You know, way more than ever back in those times of Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, it put it to shame is what it would do. And you know, if there was ever a time that the devil was, you know, had the upper hand almost, it was like now people are, you know, they're unwilling to believe in Jesus or in God, and like the atheist beliefs are almost like so overpowering everything else, right? Where people think there is no doesn't do me any good to be a moral person. Who cares? Like I live this life and I die, and that's it. It's blackness. So it doesn't, if I'm good, it doesn't matter. If I'm bad, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like, so they have no moral compass. Their moral compass is shot. Everything is instant gratification and desire, and they're willing to do whatever, whenever, and that, I think, is why we're turning our world into such just a meat grinder, dude.
For sure.
I
almost kind of think of atheism as a form of unknowing Satanism.
Oh, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
Because denying the lack of God, denying the fact of God, and denying him in this world is against his teachings.
Yeah.
Right? And it also allows the devil to have power.
That's right.
The reason we were given, a lot of people will say, why does God kill good people? Why does God allow children to die? The thing you have to remember is that he has chosen to allow us free choice, free will. And involved in that is that he doesn't step in. Mm-hmm. He allows us to make our own choices. If you saw God's power, you would just automatically go, okay, that's God's power, he's real. I'll do what I have to do. I'll follow him. That takes away your free choice.
That's right.
So him even showing his hand that he's there, too much, takes away your free choice.
That's right. And then it's not your choice to be good.
Yeah.
You're just like, your fear,
fear
makes you good, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, that's not what he wants. He wants you to act as a good person through yourself by like making these decisions, knowing what's right and what's wrong, and being like, I have the option of doing what's tantalizing, which seems like, it's going to be a lot of fun, but if I know what's wrong, morally wrong, or being strong and being like, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to stick to my morals and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. Like that is what it is. That's why. And it is a hard thing to rationalize and to understand, it's like there is a lot of sad things that happen, and that's what we tell our children there too is, God doesn't, because people ask, that's one of the most common questions is like, why does God let these wars happen? Why does this? And it's like, it's not that he's letting it happen. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Human beings are the ones making the choice to go to war, to do all these terrible things to each other when we don't have to. There is not a single thing in the Bible, if you do, it doesn't make your life better. If you follow the Bible, follow anything that it says in there, your life will get better. There's nothing in there that's going to make it worse. And I think that Christianity is almost unanimously like that, as opposed to other religions. I think that there is stuff in other religions, where it's like there's bad things in them too. You know what I mean? Where even like,
if you were to look at like a religion like a Muslim, the Quran actually has quite a few passages where it talks about killing anybody who doesn't follow their religion.
Infidels and stuff.
The infidels. There's nowhere in the Bible that it says to kill people for not being Christian. Yeah. It just says at some point, if they come over, they'll be saved. Yeah. And to go seek them out, the non-believers, to make them believers and stuff too, to preach to them, to show them the light, because they want you to be concerned about their souls too, people who aren't good, and I think that is a thing that is, it's kind of a catch-22 for me, because like I've mentioned before, I wouldn't go over to Lebanon and go preach about our God over there and say that we need to enforce our religion over there. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Because it's like they already have their own beliefs, but God does want us to do that too. He wants us to bring everybody into the fold. Yeah. So that's where I let him down too, where I'm not.
I think in a situation like that, in my own personal belief, if I went over there and I became friends with somebody over there, I might have conversations with them back and forth, civil conversations, right? Because it's not our place to go into their country and push our ways on them. I believe that's just the right way to do it, right? Unless there are people who do that. I mean, missionaries that go to other countries and try to bring Christianity to them. And I think I said in the last episode too, that I believe that that God has that some of us have a role, right? And so for some people, that role is bringing Christianity to areas that don't have that. And I think if that's not your role, that's not your place. right? I mean, those people go to school for a long time to learn how to do that, and they go there as a group, and they try to make it as safe as possible. I think if I walked into the middle of Lebanon, in the middle of a war zone, and started walking up to people, and
you'd be dead.
And I've come over to bring you over to Christ. I think that after I got the bullet to the head, the first thing God might say to me was, Jesus, that was a bad decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Another thing is too, at this point, I think that they already know about Christianity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that more so that was like bringing Christianity to people who don't know about it.
Yeah.
So going into like remote islands and stuff, bringing the knowledge about Jesus and Christ and stuff to people who aren't aware of it. Those people are aware of it and fully reject it. Mm-hmm. So it's like they're I don't think they're the people that God's talking about when he says to go recruit those people. What I mean? Yeah. They need to see for themselves, see the light for themselves, because they already know that the story about Jesus and stuff, right? So, yeah. But
I think kind of more what I was getting at is that I don't think God expects us to do something stupid.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
That's more of where I was trying to get. I said it in a joking way, and it was actually probably that probably wasn't the best way to say it. The first way I said
I got it.
But that's true. I think at the end of the day, God doesn't expect us to do stupid things and put ourselves into
peril,
over peril, just to possibly maybe get one person. Which is going to be like a huge fight, and we're probably getting killed.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's what's expected of us. I think, like you were saying, bringing it to people who are open to receiving it. Open to receiving it. I think that's the thing, right? And sometimes it's hard enough to find those people.
It is.
That's
the thing, is like a lot of people nowadays, especially, right? Because there's like very few people that don't know about Christianity. Yeah. Right? It's worldwide. Everybody knows about it. It's one of the most popular religions out there.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on where you are, obviously, but it's becoming less popular to be a Christian nowadays too. Which is like there's an ongoing persecution of Christians right now in our world, and it's like it's unacceptable to be a Christian. But if you're any other religion, it's fine to talk about it all day long, preach your perspectives and stuff. But if you start talking about Christians, it's shocking, man. You watch some of these videos online of like pastors and stuff speaking out on the streets or whatever. Mm. The vile shit people say to them when they're walking by them and stuff, right? Just like,
I don't think a lot of people realize too that we're actually living in a time right now where Christianity, for all of you liberals out there, here's a little fact for you. We're actually living in a time where Christianity is the most persecuted religion.
Yeah, it is. 100%.
Worldwide.
Yeah, 100%.
Worldwide. There are Christians being killed right now in the Middle East.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Tortured and killed for being Christian.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and we're outnumbered quite a bit now too, right? Because like that's part of the Muslim thing. I don't remember if we talked about this before, but there was a guy who got interviewed in Toronto there not that long ago, a few years back, and they were talking about bringing Sharia law into Canada, and he said, it doesn't matter what you guys want to do. He's like, we breed more than you.
Yeah.
We're just going to bring more people over here, and eventually you're going to be the minority, and we're just going to have Sharia law here in Canada. It's not going to be up to you.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's scary because it's true. Yeah. We're letting in so many people, and that to me is like showing that guy does not care about Canada.
No.
It's like, so is that something that I don't really understand it, because I'm like, I don't want to believe that everybody who comes over here from there who's a Muslim thinks that way. They need to change Canada, had to have Sharia law. But it's like, the way that guy was saying it was out in the open, people were walking by on the streets, and it was like, nobody cared what he was saying, right? It was like, yeah, that's fact. And it's like, that's scary.
I've actually seen in a mosque it was in London, I think. They were doing a sermon on outbreeding the white people.
Yeah.
In all the countries that they.
That's long-term thinking.
Just be quiet and just keep outbreeding them. I mean, and it sounds crazy, but you go to their communities and there's 20 of them living in a house.
Oh yeah, well then they all got like 10 kids, man.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy.
I think we should probably clarify a little bit that, as Donovan and I both said, we're perfectly okay with somebody coming to this country and working hard, and not trying to make this country like their country. So we're not against Muslims per se, right? We're not saying that.
No.
But what we're saying is we've brought in a lot of problem people from those countries who are trying to make it here like it was there.
Exactly.
And that is an issue, right? I think like over over the last 9 years with Justin Trudeau in power, he's basically letting in whoever, right?
Yeah.
We had it basically in. I mean, when Donald Trump was closing the border and putting up the wall in Mexico, we had our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau doing a press conference saying, "Come to Canada, we'll take you."
Yeah, unbelievable.
Right? That's one of the things he tried to say to make Trump look bad.
Yeah.
He's like, "Come here, we'll take you." And then all of a sudden, we had an illegal border crossing. We had an illegal border crossing where they were basically waiting there, and when you crossed the border, they brought you in, they made sure you were warm, they made sure you had clothes, they brought you to a hotel.
Yep.
Like, we basically had a welcome center.
Yeah, we were putting them up, man, everywhere, all over the country.
Right?
And yeah, it's when you don't know who you're letting in, you know?
Yeah.
When you think about it small scale,
Yeah.
why do we lock our doors at night, guys?
Yep.
Because we don't want somebody to break into our house. We don't know who these people are. There's a ton of people in society. Not everybody has your best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it big scale. That's why we have a border. We lock it up so we know who's coming into our country. We know what kind of a person they're going to be. Are they going to be productive to our society? Are they going to be detrimental to our society?
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of people we want. Are they going to be pro-Canadian or are they going to be anti-Canadian? And then we're just letting them live here, spewing all their hate about Canada. Like, there's got to be a middle ground. And I'm completely fine with anybody coming here, working hard, becoming a Canadian to be Canadian, you know? And that's where the bottom line lies with that. You need to be Canadian. Move here. Like old Pierre said, leave the war at the door.
Leave the war at the door.
Yeah.
I love that line. That's really good.
Yeah, it is, man.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll happen.
And I think too, like, let me tell you, if you came to Sparwood and you were a new family here, you're a Muslim, father, wife, some kids, and you came here and you didn't know anybody and you invited me over for dinner, I would happily come over to your house for dinner, right?
Yeah.
I like to look at people as people first.
Exactly.
And whatever they associate with second. But when this thing that they associate with becomes something that is dangerous to me, then unfortunately the people can't matter anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got to take care of,
They have a dangerous ideology or something.
Yeah. If you've got a dangerous ideology, like, that's something that I can't have around me.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not saying that I don't like you as a person. I'm saying that I can't have that in my life.
No.
Right?
I get that.
I'm sure that if somebody was coming to your country and bringing dangerous ideologies to your country, you'd feel exactly the same way.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said at the beginning, though, totally welcome. If they want to share a meal, I'd love to. I love learning about other people's cultures too. Mm-hmm. It's not like I don't want you to be proud of where you came from. Mm-hmm. I just want you to be proud of where you are now too. And understand that, like, there's a reason why you left the place you were at. So let's try to keep this as good as we can. Yeah. Because it won't take much to disintegrate what the good things we do have and turn it into a mess, man. And it already is leaning that way, right? So we got a lot of work to do, Did you see that very unfortunate what's going on in LA with all the fires and stuff,
It's wild.
But maybe you should have instead of being so pro-diversity, maybe filled up some of your reservoirs so the hydrants had water.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Like the stuff that when everything's all about diversity and that's all that matters and all the important stuff gets left by the wayside, this is what happens. You got a complete mess on your hands, Diversity doesn't work. Intellectual diversity is great.
Yes.
Cultural diversity does nothing but divide people. Mm-hmm. Cultural diversity, in my opinion, is not necessary. That shouldn't be the number one criteria when you're talking about diversity. Mm-hmm. What we want is intellectual diversity. We want new ideas and different ideas from people because people have different ideas. That's how new inventions happen. That's how things move forward. Cultural diversity keeps everybody separated. Yeah. And there's constant infighting. Mm-hmm. That's all cultural diversity does. There needs to be one thing. Like when you move to a new country, you need to be from there. So now you're Canadian. You can talk about other things, obviously. You can celebrate your holidays and whatever, but you're Canadian. That's what it needs to be. And when it comes to like diversity and all these things, look at Disney. It's amazing to me that people are still following this route. Yeah. Everybody's lost a ton of money doing it. It hasn't done good for anything. I watched a great thing talking about diversity where it was like a pilot. Somebody talking about pilots, and they're like, I don't want to see diversity, with pilots because they're talking about needing that. It's like, how about you just get somebody who can land the plane? I don't care if he's white, I don't care if he's black. I want the best person for the job, not a DEI hire. I do not want a DEI hire when it comes to airplanes. You know, I want the best pilots that you can hire. Well, I don't care what color or race or nationality they are. They need to be the best so that they can land these planes safely because they're carrying me and my family places. Yeah, you think that would be a no-brainer. You know, you think that would be a no-brainer, but it's not. They want to hire diversity. Have diversity hires, just like everywhere else. Have diversity hires. When did it not be okay just to hire the best person for the job? And why is it not okay to hire the best person for the job anymore? You know, who started this idea that that's racist?
I was just talking to a buddy of mine, and he was telling me that he had a friend who went out to become a firefighter, and he went and he took the test and he passed with flying colors. And they said okay, well, we might be able to use you within the next 7 years.
Jeez.
Right. So I guess 7 years from then he got a call, right, to come in and, you know, they would take him.
Yeah.
So he went in there and he said that he was waiting in the waiting room with this lady, and she was they were just talking a little bit, and he's like, so when did you take your test? And she's like, oh, a week ago.
That's
like,
disgraceful.
That's insane.
Yeah.
You know?
So basically they got the shittiest people, you know, there.
Yeah.
And it's just all for the reason is diversity, you know, because they don't care about putting out fires. They don't care about saving lives. They care about looking good on paper. Like they are equitable and fair to everybody. The world ain't fair. Fires aren't fair. You know? Fires require that you have the strongest and the best to save as many people as you possibly can. You know? It'll kill indiscriminately too. It'll kill shitty firefighters. It'll kill good firefighters. It needs to have the best shot of success. You need to have the best people there. That should be a no-brainer in any industry, man. It shouldn't matter what it is. You want to have the best? You want to be the best music artist? You want to have the best producer. You want to have the best person who makes the best beats. You know, best guitar players. You know, you don't want to have diversity guitar. Ding, 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 ding. But we needed diversity, so we needed to get Elliot over here who doesn't even know how to play the guitar because we want diversity. You know, it's got to be. If you want to be the best, you need to hire the best. That should be a no-brainer for everybody. This DEI hire crap. You know what? I don't think this is just me speaking. I know there's some good white people in the NBA, but are we going to make it all half white to be diversity? Nah, because it's way better. Because there's a lot of better people that are playing. You know, they're dunking all over us over there. There's a few of us who can compete, but I know he's a pretty good ball player. But there's not a chance in hell that that's going to be equal playing field. You know, and I would never in a gazillion years be like, that's unfair. No, you don't know why? Because they're the best. The best players are playing in the NBA. That's why. You know? I would never be like, it's completely unfair. There's way more black people than there are white people. We need to have more white people in the NBA. You know? Like, no. It's the best players are in the NBA.
That's okay. So, and like literally, that goes against, if you're looking at us from a racial standpoint, it goes against us. But we agree with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? That's how it is. Black people make better NBA players.
Yeah, 100%.
It's proven.
Yeah, it's proven.
It's a proven fact.
Yeah.
There's no fighting it.
No.
Right? It's totally understandable.
Exactly, man.
Right? Yeah. So when more black people play in the NBA, we don't look at it and go, well, that goes against us. Why isn't there more of us?
Yeah.
Right? No, we understand.
Yeah, we understand.
We get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys said there's a lot more. The NBA is better the way it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a few good guys like old Larry Bird and old Dochick or whatever is in there right now. You know, he's really good too. There's only a couple. Steve Nash was really good.
Steve Nash was really good.
You know, so there is a few, but it's like, I'm not going to fight it. Obviously, you guys are there's a lot way bigger. Yeah. For some reason, they got more stature in this. Basketball's a bigger thing. So it's
I'd even go a little further and I'd say if you did force them to take more white people than black people, basketball would get worse.
100% it would. There's no denying it would get worse. There's no denying
that's just how it is. So we understand that's how that works.
We completely get it, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, so there's just certain things that you aren't going to have that are completely diversified, 50-50 across the board. You need to have whites, you need to have Hispanics, you need to have...
Yeah.
That's not real life.
It's just not real life.
Nothing is 50-50 all the way around. Everybody has an equal representation. There's nothing like that in real life. So why are we trying to portray this total fake system that doesn't even exist? You know, even when people have like friends, you know, when you go hang out at your friend's house, is there one Mexican, one Asian, one black person, one white person? You know, no.
Almost never.
Almost never. You know, there might be one of each of those people there, but there's going to be a mix of people. It's not going to be equally dispersed every time, everywhere you go. It's like, well, I can't hang out with them. They're missing an Asian today.
Yeah.
You know, I can't go hang out with them today. We need to get an Asian in here. No, it's there's friend groups. You tend to gravitate towards certain friends that you get along with.
That's who you like.
And guess what? Sometimes you might. There's shitty white people out there, guys.
Oh, 100%.
There's shitty black people out there. Yeah. There's shitty Asians out there. There's shitty people in every single ethnicity and group. It's not one single group has all the people that are terrible. That's just not real life. No. Real life is there's shitty people in every single race and every single group of people. There can be terrible people. So what I like to judge people on is the character of the person.
Yep.
And if we get along, I think that they're a quality human being that has good morals and stuff, man, and we can make each other laugh and have good times, and I'm going to hang out with this guy. I do not give a shit about anything else. Color is literally last thing in my mind.
Yeah.
Like if you are a good beauty human being, I love hanging out with you. I will hang out with you every day. I don't care.
Yeah.
Especially if you can take a joke and we can laugh about some things.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
Because I make just as much fun about white people. You know? I love making fun of white people. There's a lot of hilarious shit.
There's a lot of funny shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of ammo there, you know? Yeah, there's a lot of jokes about everybody. And people get so offended about it.
You know what? That's the other thing, too. This always really bugged me. The idea of jokes being racist, right?
Yeah.
Jokes, literally, if you can make fun of the differences between us, that is the furthest thing away from racism possible. Right? Understanding that there are differences between the races and just acknowledging them is true anti-racism.
Yeah.
Right? Saying that, oh, we're equal because we have to be equal. Yeah. We have to make it equal is racist.
It is, exactly. That is racist.
That is racist.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there is certain groups that are better at certain things.
Yeah.
And there's certain... I thought it was funny too. I watched this comedian the other day. He's a white guy, right? Kind of like a hick kind of guy. Mm. And he always makes like black jokes and shit. Like hilarious jokes.
Yeah.
But... of course, there's a white chick in the stands who doesn't like his black jokes, right? It's never a black person who's offended, by the way. It's always a white person, right? It's just there's tons of black people in the crowd, you know, but for some reason it's a white chick who's like, hey, you can't be saying that kind of stuff, you know? And he's got to pipe up and be like, listen, I grew up my whole life idolizing Richard Pryor and all these great black comedians who made fun of white people all day long. Mm. So you're telling me I can't do the same now? Go fuck yourself. Yeah. You know? And it's like, it was awesome. I watched the joke he was making the other day. It was hilarious because he just calls out the crowd. And he's like, you know, like I'm started hanging out with my black friends again. You know what I'm saying, brother? Points out to this to the guy out in the crowd, right? And everybody starts slacking it. And this girl that he's with's like, he's not black. And he's like, did you hear that? He's not black. You better tell her. And then it goes on for a few minutes, right? And he's like, if you don't mind me asking, what are you? He's like, yeah, I'm black. Yeah. And they're dating, and she doesn't even know he's black. She's like, he's not black. Nice. I don't know, it was just hilarious, but
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's comedy, guys. Yeah. You know, and there's got to be a difference between jokes and actual clearly hate, because there is a difference. Anybody people who don't have a sense of humor,
Did you hear that Canada has literally banned what's his name? That comedian that was in like all of. Like Happy Gilmore and the Waterboy.
Not Adam Sandler.
No, the other one. In the Waterboys, the guys like, you can't do it.
Oh, Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider. He's banned from Canada.
Are you serious?
Yep. He said some racist jokes.
Yeah, he came down to Saskatoon. He was in Saskatchewan doing a stand-up thing, and he said that people were just hating on him, right? Yeah. And he's like, you don't need to listen.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, and he was actually down recently at a university down in the States too, where he was talking, and he said, free speech isn't the stuff that everybody agrees on.
No.
You know, what needs to be protected is the stuff that everybody hates.
Yeah.
You know, because you're never gonna find something that people want to throw out that everybody agrees that is fine. You know, it's a tough speech. If people are gonna have disagreements that need to be debated, that's stuff that needs protected.
I think you got to understand that in this life, you are not guaranteed the right to not be offended.
Yeah, you're going out in public, you're gonna be offended.
Yeah.
I seen this video the other day, Nate, that was shocking. It'd be kind of hilarious if you could put it up right now. Dude, I'm sure you could find it. But this dude is getting interviewed, and he's saying, he goes around and he says, what's one of the worst things about conservatives? You know, and he's interviewing this guy is shirtless, he's got tape over his boobs, he's a dude, he's got mask on like a clown, he's got like a painted face, right? And he's like, I think they're a cult. It was just like, what? And he's like, they don't listen to any new ideas. He's like, are we supposed to be listening to you, pal? Like, you telling me that you're the voice of reason? Yeah. Oh my God, man. There is the amount of people that are out there that are batshit crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I guarantee you that guy ain't laughing at no jokes.
No.
You know? It's like, if we can't have a sense of humor, you know, you're walking around in public looking like that, guess what, buddy? You're in public.
Yeah.
I can shout and make jokes all day long.
All day long.
And I don't consider it bullying. Because, you know, I'm not going to be like following you when you're crying, like, yeah, fuck you, bow. You know, it's like, you know, I might be like sweet Mother Moses if you were walking by me and I see that, you know. I'm like, what is happening? Then keep walking by, you know. But what do you expect when you're dressed like that? You expect everybody just to be like, oh, bowing down to you. I watched a great little clip off Family Guy the other day where Caitlyn Jenner was on there, right? It was like, it looked like that. I'm sure it was just didn't actually say it was him, old Brucey. But it was, she's at a bar, he's at a bar, whatever, looking at porn on his phone. And the bartender's like, excuse me, there's no looking at porn on the bar. No looking at porn at the bar. He's like, oh no, I'm transgender. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Do whatever you want, anytime. It's like, that's so true though, man. It's like, that's what they expect. It's like, you say, all you have to do is say transgender. It's like, okay, everything goes out the window. Do whatever you want all the time. Yeah, forget it. Yeah, forget all cultural norms and whatever's acceptable. Do whatever you want all the time.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Oh man, I got a good laugh at that one.
I recently saw there's this person going around online right now. It's a conservative transgender. It was really interesting because she's there talking about how all this gender politics, man and woman who's using what bathrooms, like it's all bullshit. It's all just designed. It just brings everybody down. Yeah. Right. And that, you know, talking about how she's like, I was born a man, I'm a man. Yeah. I look like a woman, but I'm a man.
Yeah. That's what Bruce says too. All there is. Well, did you know?
Well, Bruce said too, Bruce or Caitlyn, whatever. Yeah. One thing I thought was really interesting was he came out very strongly against transgenders competing in women's sports. Because he was an Olympic athlete. He knows the science. Yeah. Right?
He was an Olympic athlete. Gold medalist, man. Yeah. Like, he knows. Yeah, I can whip any one of these chicks' asses that run. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he understands that there's a complete advantage for having... You know, even Serena Williams said back in the day... what was his name? John McEnroe was like a vulgar old tennis player back in the day.
Oh yeah, he'd go crazy in a second.
Yeah, and he was asking on like Letterman or something. They said, "Who's the best tennis player in the world?" And he like named off whatever, Roger Federer or whoever it was. And he's like, and they're like, "What about women's tennis?" And he's like, "Well, Serena Williams or Venus or whatever." And he's like, "Why wouldn't you just say that she's the best player in the world?" And he's like, "Because if she was playing guys, she'd get smashed. Yeah, you know, it wouldn't even be close." And the amount of hate he was getting. Yeah. Then she goes on there, Venus or Serena. I think it was Serena. Serena goes on that program later on. It was one of the night talk shows, and she gets asked the same question. You know, why don't you just go play the bench? She's like, you know, if I was gonna play like a man who was like in the 170th best seat, I would lose in 3 sets, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. She's like, I might get 1 point, maybe, but she's like, it is a completely different sport. Like I said, and she is a beast, man. She is. She's tough, man. She's a freaking wicked athlete, dude. Yeah. Built like a brick shithouse.
She deserves all the respect in the
world. Damn straight, man. She's awesome.
Like, amazing.
Yeah, incredible. And she was like, she's like almost 40, still playing in tennis right now. Like, and she's still kicking ass. She's really good. And she was like, back then, man, it was like, there was no touching her. She was amazing. And she flat out said it. Like, no, they're completely different sports. Playing a man and a woman in sports are completely different games. It's not even close to the same. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's... And like, I can't remember who the hell said it, but it was like, okay, let's go put Brock Lesnar. We'll put him and fight in the women's division. Yeah. In UFC. You know?
Just kill.
Yeah, just fucking dominate, never lose, and never just completely beat the shit out of women.
Yeah.
You know? I'm trans, I'm Brock Lesnar. You know?
Like, did you see the South Park episode or the strong woman competition? No. So they did this is hilarious. If you get the chance, go look this up. I won't put it up because it's too long. But it's if Macho Man Randy Savage decided 2 weeks ago he was trans, so he's going to compete in a strongman competition. And he's just freaking destroying everybody. Oh, I love that. And at first they're all like, "Oh, we stand with our trans sister," and then at the end they all got black eyes and they're all bruised and broken. And he's in first place and he's like, "I killed these bitches."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Man. It's just like...
It's satire, but it's like 100% true. It's true. Dude, it's true. Yeah. It's like how... to not say that, to not say what is true, you know? Yeah. It's ridiculous.
We got this... so, in Alberta, we live in British Columbia in Canada. Next door to us is Alberta. The Alberta Powerlifting Association has allowed transgender athletes to compete. Not only transgender, but the second you decide that you are another gender, you can compete in that gender. Nothing has to be done. You don't have to take any drugs. You just go straight over. So, so this transgender athlete went to compete in bench press.
Yeah.
And ended up taking the the Alberta bench press record by something like 100 pounds. Right? 100 pounds more than any woman had ever done it before in the female division. And got a lot of heat online over it, right? So this person started posting online about how, you know, if these girls really wanted it, they could have trained harder and they could have done it too. So then this man, I believe his name was Ari. He looks like the Mountain.
Oh, he's
Wolf Warren Halfthor.
Yeah.
He looks kind of like him, just a massive, big freaking beard. He was the coach for the Team Canada's powerlifting team.
Yeah.
And he walked in there. He walked into a competition in Alberta, and actually this trans person who had won it was in the crowd that day. And he walked in and he said, "I'm a female.
Yeah.
I want to compete in bench press."
Yeah.
Walked up and beat this transgender's record by something like 150 pounds without even trying.
Yeah.
So now I think it was like 500 pounds. Bench pressed 500 pounds. No woman is ever going to be able to bench press 500 pounds.
Never do.
And that is the record. It stands as the record to this day.
God.
And he came out and he's like, "I'm doing this because they're making a mistake and now they got to fix it."
Yeah.
Because now nobody can ever take it. No woman can ever beat this record.
No, that's right.
So fix it.
For everything.
Yeah, the guy's kind of a fucking hero, right?
Yeah, really.
Big fucking beard, looks like a fucking Viking.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I don't know that they've fixed it yet. I'll have to look into that. But
the thing is, too, like, Nate, it doesn't even have to be as crazy as this sounds, guys. It's sport-wide, everything. It doesn't need to be powerlifting, running, long jump. You want to hear a weird one? Shooting. Stuff like that.
Yep.
The dudes are the best in everything. It doesn't need to be a powerful thing where you just need muscles. It's weird. But I think it's just because dudes, there's so many more dudes that do it maybe. I have no idea. But like, shooting, pool. Well, even, like those games.
Even when it comes to something like that. So I know a little bit about the science behind it. If you were to give puberty blockers to a baby, a male baby, if you were to give blockers so that it doesn't produce any testosterone, that baby would still be stronger at 15 years old than a female baby born at the same time.
But what about shooting though? Playing pool.
Our skeleton structure is different than a woman's. A woman's is designed to protect the life inside of them and for giving birth. A man's is designed to fight. So just the ability to hold a weapon, just the ability to hold something heavier. Our skeletons are stronger.
I guess, because it doesn't seem like it needs a lot of strength. It's mostly about like precision. It's a precision game. The rifles are super light now, and you're on a rest most of the time and stuff like that, right? In pool, it's like you're holding a pool cue. Yeah. But it's like for some reason, the men are better. Men are better at everything. You know? So it's like 100%. I don't get it. I really don't get it. You go look at stuff like that has nothing to do with like really with muscle mass. I mean, but the men, they play, they win. So it's like you can't just have women going in. I don't know what sport you could even do it in where it would be okay. Like it's like every sport, as far as I can see, every single sport.
I mean,
out there.
You would even think that swimming would be one where a woman's lighter body and better aerodynamics
might be able to help.
But a man kills them.
Blows them out of the water, as it were.
Which has been proven.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A transgender female. It was like what was he? Leah Thomas. 330th in the men's division or something stupid like that.
Yeah, way down.
And like first place. In women's.
To chicks who've been right against swimming her whole life, trying hard, training her butt off. Gets beat by this dude.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's shameful.
Right.
It truly is shameful.
The idea, you never see transgenders that are going from women to being men wanting to compete in men's sports.
That's right.
Because they know they can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's no chance.
They'll get whipped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they'll get whipped.
I am not against transgenders competing, but if you want to be absolutely 100% open about it and give everybody they have to compete against their own class.
That's right.
If you wanna have transgender competitions, you have to have transgender classes.
Yeah.
You have to have women going to men, men going to women. That is the only way to make it.
Yeah, they can't be
fair.
They're not biologically, guys.
No.
They're not biologically the same.
No.
Let's quit
quit
saying they are, because it's only hurting everybody.
It is.
Yeah. If we want to have trans people out, they're out here. They're in our general society. They're around.
Yeah.
They can have their own group in the Olympics where they can go against each other.
Yeah.
That seems completely fair.
Yeah.
You know, why not? Why do we need to? It's the opposite of women's rights. You know, it's like we've been fighting for women's rights for all this time, and then dudes are like, watch this.
It is so true though, because we've literally gone from, we gave women their own section to compete in so that men wouldn't beat them.
Exactly.
And now we've made it so that the men are just going and competing in the women's
and
divisions.
Even so much in the violent sports, guys. We're allowed like they want to do it in fighting. Yeah. You know, and it's like we're just allowing abuse at this point. Because for what? Equality? And none of the women are down for this.
No.
You know?
No.
None of them that are competing are like, yeah, please get more men in our division. That's what we need. More men.
We're literally making it so that if we were to keep going the same way, which I'm hoping is changing. Mm-hmm. I got a feeling that I believe there has been quite a few that have made it illegal for transgenders to compete. But if we were to keep going that way, we would literally get to a point where there would only be men competing in women's.
Yeah, exactly. There would be nothing. WNBA would be a bunch of Shaquille O'Neals.
Left.
Yeah.
No women left. Yeah.
LeBron James.
Trying
to move over to WNBA, just create a dynasty over there.
Yeah. I did see a picture of him in that maids uniform that Diddy put
yeah.
You know, maybe he could pull it off.
Goal.
It didn't look too good, but
yeah, that don't look too good for old LeBron.
It don't look too good for old LeBron.
Yeah, I wonder, because Trump was talking about letting all those files out, I would love to see.
Oh, I sure.
Isn't it shocking to people that, I know it's a long time ago already, guys, but has everybody forgot about Epstein?
Right?
Like, how come nobody cared that those files were never released or nothing ever happened with old Epstein? Like, it was just, like, whatever, the guy got killed in his jail cell, under surveillance, cameras didn't work, the room looked very sketchy all around when they showed a picture of his room. He had like 20 sheets in there. It's like, what is going on here? And we know what he was in there for, guys.
Yeah.
Super powerful people were, he had lists and everything else. A lady went to jail.
For sex trafficking.
Yeah, for sex trafficking of minors.
But who did she sex traffic to?
Nobody knows. They're not going to tell us. They're like, everybody, you know what else is going on? Fucking Russia. Fucking Ukraine. You don't want to tell us what's happening here, guys.
You got to be really careful out there. It's been like this for a while. It's like there's so much going on out in the world that we don't know where to look anymore.
That's right. That's the way they want it too, man.
That's the way they want it.
Keep us distracted.
And I really, with Elon Musk coming out and saying that they're giving those lists out on the January 20th.
I'm counting on it, man. I really hope that he keeps his word on that.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we got to start moving past this.
We do.
We are in such a bad place right now that if we don't start working on things, like Pierre was saying, it's going to take all of us, right? We need to start working on things at every level, and we got to fix so many things.
Yeah, there is so
before
much
we can get right.
Yeah, exactly. And it all starts with transparency with that kind of stuff, but too, man. Like, we know that they're hiding shit. 100% they're hiding stuff about about Epstein. Like, the government's hiding it because there's obviously powerful, influential people that are whatever. They're going to be found out, and they don't want to be found out, so they're hiding it. Same with the Diddy stuff. Obviously there's a bunch of athletes and singers and stuff that don't want to get...
Oddly enough, a lot of them have left the country already.
Exactly, because they know what's coming, right? But I really, really hope that does, because that's where it's got to start, man. There's got to be transparency. It's got to be opened up to us, guys.
I mean, you look at Epstein, and so a lot of people will say too, they'll be like, oh, well, that's a conspiracy theory too. I'm sure they got everybody. She was convicted of sex trafficking, but we don't know who she sex trafficked to.
Yeah.
Like, if she was convicted of sex trafficking, they know.
Exactly.
They know.
Yeah.
And they're not telling us.
And old Bill Clinton was on the plane how many times? 15 times or something, flew to that island?
Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, Trudeau.
He was on the plane a whole bunch of times. There was a lot of people that were shown to have traveled to that island.
The guy was a billionaire. Nobody knows how he got his money. He had pictures of paintings of Bill Clinton in a dress in his apartment. You know, there was a lot of weirdness going on with that guy, and it's all just swept under the rug, and we moved on to the next crazy thing that happened, and the next crazy thing. But let's not forget, that was a real thing that happened, and it wasn't that long ago.
No.
Like, this is still fairly recently in our history, and that just shows how short-minded people are.
Yeah.
They've already moved on and not even cared about it anymore. They're on to the next crazy thing.
And we got to start not accepting no accountability.
That's right.
We got to start forcing accountability on the people who are in power.
That's right. 100%, man.
I'm really hoping that the people that are coming into power are just going to be accountable.
Yeah.
Because it's looking like they want to be.
Yeah, that's what I hope. And transparency.
Transparency.
If you fuck up, you say so. And that goes so far just down to people's own lives.
Yeah.
Like, day-to-day shit. You know? That's where it starts. In your life, when you fuck up something at work, you say, fuck, I'm sorry, man. Yeah. I messed up. I'm going to really try hard not to do that again.
Yeah.
My bad. You don't go, no, I didn't do it. No, it was Glenn. I think Glenn might have done it. I see Glenn over there. Glenn, did you do this? No. Oh, I don't know.
I have seen so many people burying themselves by going, oh, that wasn't me.
Oh,
I didn't do it. And then you find out they did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they've lied.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go look at the cameras. If you're going to make us do this, let's go look at the cameras. Well, it turns out, 100% it was you. We can watch you do it right here. Come here. We'll show you the camera.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. And it's insane. Like, that is a couple quotes that I remember reading that I really love. If you never tell a lie, you never have to remember anything because it's just what happened.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? And the other one is, one that I try to live by is never do anything that you wouldn't tell your mom about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you live by those two things, you're automatically transparent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you got nothing to hide.
And your life is just better.
Yeah, your life is better. Exactly.
Like, it's surprising how much better your life is when you're transparent.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, you're not burdened by guilt or burdened by like, oh man, I hope these people don't find this out.
Yeah.
You know? Oh my God. Because can you imagine?
It tears you apart.
Can you imagine what's going through Trudeau's head every day?
Yeah.
Well, the amount of, maybe he's such a narcissist and a psychopath that he doesn't even understand. Yeah. But it's like, I think his wife left him because he's gay, to be honest. I don't know. I'm not 100% certain.
Before we get sued, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. There was some weirdness going on.
Yeah.
He bought that guy like a $9 million apartment in New York. They have a gold tub. Like
$2.5 million to an underage schoolgirl who has signed a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, there's tons of weirdness going on. And his lady left him, and it was just like, and that's another thing. When that happened in the States, there would be non-stop questioning about it. Our news didn't even ask him about it.
No.
Didn't even ask him. Not a single news organization was like, what happened? Or interviewed her.
Yeah.
She's just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Nobody went and interviewed her. It was like, what happened there?
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy.
Because there's probably some shit to find out. Yeah. You know? I guarantee you she knew some things.
I loved when Pierre came out and what was it? Justin Trudeau said that Pierre has never been anything but a politician. And Pierre's like, yeah, and Justin Trudeau was a drama teacher who had to leave halfway through his semester, and I can't remember why that happened.
Yeah, that was awesome. He was also the one where I found out about the apartment that he bought for that guy in New York. Yeah. And he's like, and he recently went on a trip there. Did you spend any nights in that hotel, Justin? And yeah, it was awesome. It was like, no! Yeah. But nobody, of course, then he got in trouble for saying that by the Speaker of the House and stuff, and it was like, yeah, but yeah, you can't bother saying true things and calling somebody out and making everybody aware of some really weirdness that's going on with the guy. Yeah, you know, clearly he's weird.
There's some stuff going on.
Psychopath.
And the guy went to a Taylor Swift concert 3 weeks ago in downtown Montreal where there was a riot going on.
Yeah.
And he's at this concert, Taylor Swift concert. He's still wearing a bunch of friendship bracelets that he got off of some young girls from the Taylor Swift. He's still wearing them. And the guy's he bothers me on such a
me too, man. A core, man. Right to my core, man. And it's even worse, Nate, too, because he bothers me, but then it's like, then it makes me expand out to being like, who are these idiots that are voting for this guy, that are liking him? Like, I can't believe that there's even humans out there that are so dumb, like, and gullible. You know, their BS meters are completely broken, Nate. We need to recalibrate the BS meters. BS meters. They totally need a recalibration.
100%. I think one thing we really got to work on, like if Pierre gets in and everything goes the way we think it's going to go, I think one of the things I think is going to be really important for Pierre to work on And I'm really hoping that he will, because this is going to be so important to us in our future. And this is going to sound weird, but he's got to work on taking away his own power.
Yeah.
He's got to work on making it so that the prime minister does not have the power that he has.
People would love him for that.
Yeah.
Like the general population.
Yeah.
Imagine if he came out. Just imagine that. Where he's like, we need to have more accountability in my position. We're going to make it so this obviously will never happen, but I really wish that it would. It would be like, when you're asked a question in the House, you're under oath. You know, you can't lie anymore and say that, you know, I don't know, we're talking about something else. When you're asked a direct question, tell me what the cost of this was.
You make it under oath when you're in the House of Commons.
Yeah, you need to say, make it, it's under oath, and you need to give an answer. You can't give a rebuttal and say you don't know, or you can't give or start talking about something else like Justin does all the time. Every time Pierre asks him a question, he goes, you know, give me a number for whatever he's asking about. Then Trudeau goes, you know, the member opposite, he wants to create division. We're here fighting for Canadians.
Yeah.
And he never says anything. Just a complete word salad every time and never gives an answer. That should be made illegal. You know, it's like that, 100%. You can't have that. And if you're here, you're under oath. When we ask a question, you need to, because you're speaking to everybody, all of us Canadians. And as far as I'm concerned, Justin Trudeau thinks, and probably rightfully so, because he's been voted in 3 times, that we're all a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
That he could tell us whatever he wants, and we're just going to be like, okay, Jonathan, what do you need?
Yeah.
Could you charge me more in the carbon tax? I need to. It's cold down here right now, but I know global warming, and like I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
It's
wild.
It's hard to have faith in the. It's tough. But like I think we are moving forward. But I would really love, because nobody wants to give up power.
No.
You know, but I would really love to. I think that people would gravitate towards Pierre if he did come out and say stuff like that. Like that he wanted to make there more accountability.
I think, too, he's got to put something in place, because right now we need something like Americans have with impeachment. Right? I think if he doesn't do these things, I think he's our last chance at securing freedom for this country.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't do these things, we're just eventually going to get a Liberal government that's going to go, look what Justin did. Let's hold my beer.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, we're going to go full socialist, even though he already pretty much did. But there's even this Carney guy they're talking about bringing in, apparently is even more radical than him.
Yeah.
So, and that's all it's going to take is...
And Christian, we already know is more.
Oh, yeah, she's nuts, dude. And has no...
She already said, like, she already walked away from him because he's not taxing enough.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So...
Man.
I mean, our choices are pretty bad on that.
Yeah, the Liberals, they're terrible, man. I really hope that they get absolutely devastated in this next election, where they have like no seats. Yeah, you know.
I want to share a little bit of wisdom with our friends out there too, especially for you, those of you who don't know it. When we say socialism is communist with a rainbow painted on it.
Yeah. And
there's one thing about communism that you need to keep in mind. You can vote your way into communism, but you got to shoot your way out.
That's right.
Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's been called a bunch of different names. You know, communism, socialism, progressive. Yeah. You know, liberalism. Now it's like wokeism. It's all under the same guys. It's all the same thing, man. And that's where the real danger lies. That's why we need to be armed, and we need to have the government needs to have a healthy fear of its population. Anybody who denies that doesn't know history, you know what I mean? If government says that we can't control guns, has anybody ever looked into history? It seems like the governments of the world are the ones who can't be trusted with the guns.
It seems like,
if you go look at any history, they show pretty regularly that they can't be trusted with guns because they try to overthrow their population. Yeah. Crazy attacks and stuff on people. It's just been rights, and that's how they hold everybody down. But if we are allowed to stand our ground, it at least makes them more accountable, makes them less likely to become tyrannical. And our media needs to face consequences. Yeah. In my opinion, too. You can't, when they talk about this misinformation, like they are misinformation. Everything they say is misinformation. Yeah. And anybody who's paying attention realizes that. And it's like, there needs to be repercussions for them if they're giving out fake stories, or, you know, I hope that Pierre goes after them too, somehow. He did say that he's not going to be funding them anymore. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
And, one thing a lot of you might not know too, is that here in Canada, Justin Trudeau's, he's put so many policies in place that sound like they're for the people, but he's got a policy in place now where he's decided that the rest, all the major social media companies around the world are using Canadian news content without paying for it, so they have to pay for it Otherwise, they're not allowed to use it and they'll be fined. So we've run into a situation now where if you look like on Facebook, you literally cannot look up Canadian news on Facebook.
Yeah.
For most people in this day and age, online is where they get their news.
Yeah.
So he's really made it, and he's made it so that you can't see the news anymore. But it's not just the news. Like if you live in Canada and you want to watch news now, 9 times out of 10 you have to go to the television.
Yeah.
Right. YouTube is paying for it. They've gone with the Canadian government. They've actually cut a side deal so that they don't have to pay as much. But so you can get news on YouTube, but like any other social media except X will show news from anywhere. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Right. They don't censor anything. But all your other basic social medias aren't allowed to show Canadian news content unless they pay for it. So you run into a situation where if you want to see that news and you don't know where to look for it online, you just can't find it, you've got to get your news from television, which the Liberals control.
Yeah.
Right? So all of the not normal news agencies like Rebel News here in Canada.
Yeah, alternative news
agencies, the ones that are actually reporting on things, you can't get to them.
No. Yeah, you don't know. You don't know them. Lots of people out there don't know them, right? All they ever see is Justin Trudeau talking.
Yep.
Everybody, like in the States and stuff too, because I've seen Rogan talk about Trudeau a few times, right? Mm-hmm. Like, people think he's an absolute clown. On the world stage, it's like we are a laughingstock and a joke.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, and people are still, like, thankfully now he's stepped down, but it's not. You know, he's still our prime minister now for a little bit, but who's going to be the next idiot that goes in there? You know? We need to be respected on the world stage, man. And hold our ground. That's the only way that we're not going to become the 51st state, and that we can, and where I wouldn't be upset about it. You know, at this point, if it gets worse, I want to be the 51st state.
I was waiting to say that exact same thing.
Like
if like those things I was saying that Pierre has to fix.
Yeah.
And actually renewing our ability to get guns is another one of those.
Definitely,
things, right?
100%, man.
If we can't fix those things, we're better off being an American state.
Yeah.
Because if we can't fix those things, we can't guarantee our freedom in the future.
Yeah.
We just can't.
No, we can't. And we're going to lose it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it'll be, in the next 10, 20 years, it won't be free Canada at all.
No.
You know, we're going to have a socialist, communist government that's going to come in, and we're all going to be down here, like I was saying earlier. You know, it's already incredibly difficult just to buy food here and decide if you're going to buy food or pay your bills. It's an incredibly difficult time here in Canada, and that's all because of him. And we're being that, you know, our richest province is poorer than the poorest state down in the United States. I don't see many downsides. No. You know, the only thing I don't like is that I did see Trump say that he would open up national parks and start basically raping the resources from national parks and taking lumber out of national parks. There's lots of lumber out there. We don't need to be doing that. And you know, I am all about national parks. And if anything, I would say we need more national parks. I want more preserved areas.
Yeah.
I do not want less. I think that we do a lot of pillaging of our natural resources. I think there's something that we could do is like start for lumber. Let's start growing huge marijuana patches.
Yep, 100%.
The stalks of the marijuana plant, they can make that into like incredibly strong 2x4s and stuff. It's like the processed stuff afterwards. It's incredibly light, super strong. They can make paper out of it. The Declaration of Independence was written on marijuana, the cannabis paper, whatever they were calling it back then. But much stronger, and we could just grow enormous fields of it. They do good for taking the carbon dioxide out of the air and everything. It's a win-win.
Well, so also their rotation, like crops, like several crops per year.
Yeah.
Like with a tree, you take a tree down, you plant another one, you're waiting 20 years.
Oh, exactly.
Before you can harvest that tree again.
That's right.
Cannabis, you're harvesting several times a year.
That's right, man.
Like the amount of paper that you get per acre of land is massively more than trees.
Oh, for sure.
Massively more than trees.
And way more effective. Yeah. It lasts, like Nate said, you could do multiple in a year. So I think it's crazy that we're not doing it, in my opinion. It's like the lumber industry has obviously a lot of people backing it, and some big money corporations that are keeping it around. But that's a real alternative that we could be doing. That's a win-win for our world too. It's like we're going to stop taking down old growth trees, because that's one thing that's despicable in my mind still, Nate. We're doing that here in BC still. There's a few old growth trees left still.
Yeah.
And they're looking for them, searching. Where is it? I need to cut it down because I'm going to make a coffee table out of that one. Yeah. And it's like, I'm sure you don't need to do that. You know, like we got eight old growth trees left in this frickin' country. Yeah. Like, let's leave them, please.
So you're talking to a couple conservatives here, right? So a lot of people think that conservatives are just anti-environment and everything. Like, there's nothing that is more beautiful than walking through some old growth forest.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. Looks like some Jurassic Park style stuff, man. It's so cool. And I definitely don't want to lose that. I think that there's all kinds of alternatives to making lumber and coffee tables. I mean, we don't need to have a coffee table that's made out of a freaking 500-year-old tree. Yeah. No, we don't. Yeah. We can leave that tree, guys. That's completely fine. Yeah, just leave it. You know, I don't care about aesthetics. And then we were talking about in previous podcasts, but I don't care about having new, best, better all the time. No, let's stop. Let's stop doing that. Let's stop cutting down all the old trees. I don't care if some rich guy in Bangladesh wants a table out of this old growth tree. No, we're not going to do it. We're not going to cut down those. You know, we're going to start planting some crops, and we're going to make tables and stuff out of that. That's much stronger, going to last more forever. It's better for the environment. Everything about it's better. Let's just start doing that and making more sense.
And I kind of feel like even when it comes down to what you do need trees for anything that you do want to use trees for, I just feel like we could do a better job at it.
100%.
Right now we're just basically picking areas and clear cutting them. And it leaves behind just a mess.
Yeah, well, no, they leave behind like 5 trees standing, right? Because then it's not classified as clear cutting. Yeah. Because clear cutting is illegal in Canada. Yeah. But what they'll do is they'll go through, you'll drive around, you'll see a clear cut, and there'll be like 8 trees standing with all the branches are broken off because other trees have fallen all around them, and they'll leave those trees standing because then it's not classified as a clear cut, so it's legal to keep going. Mm-hmm. But it's like, they leave the shittiest 5 trees in the whole area, and it's like, it's just disgusting. It looks terrible, and the amount of trees that they cut down, it is staggering. Absolutely staggering.
Oh, it's just crazy. We see it around here all the time. Like there's forest one day and it's gone the next.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's wild.
We could be, with the amount that's already logged, we start planting cannabis crops on there. Mm-hmm. You know, could you imagine the amount of lumber that we would have next year? Yeah. Just by that alone, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it creates industry, creates jobs for people planting it all, harvesting it all. Like, seems like a win-win. I really don't understand why it's not done, dude. I don't get it. You know, I know there's big money again, like for the lobbying and the logging industry and everything, but still, like we need to get some money into. If they're talking about green energy, that's some way to do it. That's some regenerative stuff right there, where you can have this. The lumber's better quality. You're not cutting down old growth trees. You're not hurting the carbon footprint by getting more shit cut down by cutting down trees, because trees are taking a lot of carbon. So does the cannabis plants. So I think that's a win-win. I don't know.
And I think too, you know, a lot of people, I'd like to mention here too that every once in a while when we're on these podcasts, I feel like I've got a little lesson for some liberals. So I kind of want to push it out there. And one of the things is you know, a lot of liberals will look at conservatives and think that we're against things like green energy or we're against new technologies. And one thing that I really think a lot of people miss is that as conservatives, we're not against those things. You have to get those things to a proper stage before you can use them to replace the old technologies. 100%. Right? You can't walk in and go, everybody's got to have an electric car by 2030. Yeah. We already know that can't happen, but it's still a mandate in this country. I know. Right? So how are we going to do that? Well, what's going to happen is we're going to starve.
Yeah, we're 5 years from now. 5 years from now. So how many electric vehicles are even owned in this country right now?
So like me as a conservative, my idea would be, well, you know, we can't do that. So let's spend the next 10 years building the electric grid. Yeah. Building charging stations, putting things in place so that the average person can own a car and just buy a charge off the side of the road. Mm-hmm. Put something, because in a big city, if you live in an apartment building and you don't have an assigned parking spot, you don't have a plug-in. Mm-hmm. So where are you going to plug in? You can't. Yeah. Right? So if they putting in new battery technologies, making it cleaner, finding ways to do it better, and then if you work towards that for 10 years, you go, okay, now we're ready.
Yeah, you build some nuclear plants. You build some nuclear plants. You drill for some more gas to make for gas power. Like you got to do that first, because the power ain't coming from the plug, you guys. No. You know, it's coming from somewhere. So you need to build the infrastructure to support all the power that's going to be required to power all this stuff.
You ever seen pictures of a charging station running off of a diesel generator?
Oh, it's hilarious, dude. I've seen that, Comedy gold.
Green power.
Comedy gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was watching one where there's a guy, he's got a Tesla, and he has a generator that he's filling up. He had to call somebody to fill up a generator with diesel so he could charge it on the side of the road with his generator.
Yeah.
It's like...
Here's a funny one for you, too. Diesel generators aren't covered under the laws that regulate automobile exhaust.
Oh, yeah?
So the stuff you're getting out of a diesel generator is just pure garbage.
It's even worse.
Pure garbage. It's like literally, you may as well just set a building on fire every time you do it. It's rough.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, I mean, we just gotta get before we can put that kind of stuff in place, we need to build the technology that's going to replace it.
Yeah.
You can't just... I look at what Justin Trudeau has done in the last 9 years with trying to replace common sense with wokeism and trying to replace our whole country, everything our country has with green energy and green products. I look at all that and it really reminds me of back in the day in Russia before World War II. Stalin decided that he wanted Russia to come up to the same industrial level as the major countries in the world, and he put a 5-year plan in place, and he killed 20 million people to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, anybody stood
he
his way.
Starved people out.
Yeah.
It was insane, but he didn't care as long as he got to his goal.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's Trudeau right there. He doesn't care how many of us are suffering.
He doesn't care about you out there. He doesn't care about anybody else but himself, man. He cares about his image, his public image, how to work that. That's all he really cares about, man. And he flip-flops so much, right? He doesn't have a backbone to stand on or anything that he actually believes in. It's like he just like reads the wind, like, oh, where's this going? Okay, I'm gonna change my position on this now, man. It's like,
and let's be absolutely clear, like, you don't see this on TV, you don't see it on a lot of the news, but there are people dying in Canada. There are people who can't afford to eat. There are people who are deciding between feeding their kids and heating their homes. Yeah. There are people who can't go to work anymore. There are jobs that are gone. In Canada, we're falling apart.
There's 10 cities in every city.
Every city.
Yeah.
Every major city.
Yeah.
Hell, we live in a town of... how many people are here? Like 2,400 or something?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Every once in a while, we see a tent or two pop up.
Yeah.
Just people with nowhere else to go. Yeah. There's 10 cities within an hour of here. In another small town of 25,000, there's a tent city in Cranbrook. Yeah. You go to Lethbridge, in downtown Lethbridge, it's down near a war zone. There's so many native gangs. Yeah. There's homeless people everywhere. I was driving through Calgary. It's our closest really big city. There's 1 million people there. It's 2.5 hours away. I was driving through Calgary and some homeless guy started throwing sticks at my truck. And I was like, of course, I'm riding with the wife. And I see this guy get out. He never actually hit the truck, but I see him like get out. And he like throws this thing at me. And I'm like, I'm going to kill this guy. I go to hit the brakes. And my wife's like, there's like 30 of them. Yeah. I'm like, maybe not today.
Yeah. Lucky son of a bitch. Yeah.
Right? But
that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with.
That's what we're dealing with. Like Canada's, you never saw 10 cities.
Dude, never.
Never. It was never a thing here.
Never. That's crazy that it's like that. It's so commonplace now, right? Like,
we got big cities like Vancouver that are busing their homeless to Kelowna and Cranbrook. Just to get rid of them because they're clogging up their downtowns.
Yeah, there's so many of them down there.
And it's crazy. Like Canada is in such bad shape, and if we don't fix it, if we don't all work together to fix it, and we don't get the proper politicians doing the proper things to make sure that this doesn't happen again, we may as well just become America. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be completely down, dude. Yeah, I'm tired of the way things have been going, man, and it's just been a steady decline, man, like a steep cliff almost at this point. Yeah, we are, man. It's so much work to get us back to where we need to be, and if we can't do that, yeah, man, there's no other option in my opinion, man. It's like either that or I'm moving down there. Yeah. You know, if we aren't going to be, I hate to say it, but I'm going to leave Canada in one of these days and go down to one of the places that's still free down there in Texas or New Mexico. Yeah, and buy a little patch of land down there and be homesteading from there, man. Well, that's another thing, that they probably don't realize, like the people who are listening to us in America. You guys think you have a housing crisis here. We live in a town of, like I said, 2,400 people. Average house price here is something like $360,000. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a 2-3 bedroom house. Yeah, that's not an exceptional house. That's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and just for rent, you're paying $2,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty crazy, man.
Guys renting houses out for like close to $3,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we're a little industrial community.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing special here.
No. It's shocking, man. And you go to other places, like in Vancouver and stuff, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking millions of dollars for a freaking tiny little house that you wouldn't be $100,000 in another town someplace, you know, so.
I think if you look in America, like a lot of these places in America, you can still find houses like to find a house for, you know, $60,000 to $150,000 is still doable. And if you look in the right places and you're smart about where you go, you can still get into a nice area for that.
Yeah. Impossible
in Canada.
Yeah, it is.
Like
totally.
The middle of nowhere with no work, and people are still charging thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
In rent. There is no cheap housing in Canada.
Yeah, there's no outlet, no escape. So unless we head to the south. Head down south.
Yeah. So if any of you out there know of you know, you got a job position down there for Donovan,
down there
Texas,
south somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd be a willing participant.
We'd be willing to participate in that.
Dang straight. Yeah. I'd be a proud American. I'd wave my flag on a daily.
And you know what, too? I feel like I go down to America nowadays. I go down to Eureka. I love Eureka, Montana. It's just a little town right across the border, right? And I go down there, and there's an American flag on every telephone pole, and there's red, white, and blue banners up all over the place. And I look and I see the pride, and like, you don't get that here.
No, you don't, man.
And
especially people are offended to raise the flag here. You wouldn't be allowed to.
I don't know if any of you noticed, but I'm wearing my We the People Stars and Punisher.
Oh boy,
that's my specific moving to America possible.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Should we start wrapping her up, you think, Nate?
Yeah, I think so.
We were told that maybe we'll try keeping her to 3 hours. You guys tell us in the old comments there. It would be sweet to get a couple of comments saying, what you guys think? Do you guys like long podcasts? Like, for me, myself, I love looking for long ones. Like 3.5 hour podcast is fine with me because usually I listen to them on drives into work. I'll listen to them for a couple of days in a row for about doing a long road trip. Throw on a couple of podcasts and time flies by. So let us know if you think that if you made it this far in the podcast, let us know. You think a long podcast is better or should keep her at 3 hours? Shorter? What do you guys think is the best time for the podcast, length of time? How long you'd like to see them?
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, if you think that they should be a little shorter, let us know. You like the longer ones too? Let us know. Yeah. We'll take your advice into consideration.
And we're looking to start getting some guests on to start getting some some different topics, different points of view. If anybody out there is in the area and they're interested in being on the podcast, also let us know.
Definitely.
Down in the comments or send an email or something, or it's a small area. If you live around here, give us a call.
Yeah, love to talk to new people and stuff. And
even if you want
perspective,
even if you want to come on with a liberal point of view, if somebody,
I love that.
That would be great.
Let's hear an opposing view. If you're new to the country.
Yeah, that would be great too.
Somebody who's new to the country, I'd love to talk to you about that. People, anything like that. You guys let us know. I'd love to chat to you for a while, see what your perspective is on how the state of the country is, and share your points of view. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. That would be great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I just think today was a pretty good one there. I'd just like to, some of the stuff that we covered today. I think that some of the viewpoints or some of the takeaways would be like one of the stronger ones would be, I think we kind of touched on it there the last couple of podcasts, but like I think that it's important if you're going to come to Canada to be Canadian and to leave the war at the door, like Pierre said. I think that's a big part in moving our country forward, is to stop the division. And I think it just creates more division when we're constantly fighting about that kind of stuff, That'd be one thing we could take off the board, that we can start moving forward as a country, trying to heal ourselves. We got so much work to do. Don't let off the gas once Pierre is in power. Like, we need to hold everybody else accountable still in our local governments and on social media too. Make sure that people aren't forgetting. Like, hold their feet to the fire. And we need to make sure if there's pushback about the wokeism in your local community where they don't want to do it, like, you need to hold them accountable. If they got to get removed from office to get new people in there, that's what you guys need to do. Vote in somebody who's looking to move the country forward, not in a progressive way, in a more common sense way that's actually going to move our country in a better direction, economy and everything. That's what we need. We need to get back some money to the working class people, so we're not the poorest country in the G6, because that's where we're at right now. It's a shocking thing that Ontario is poorer than the poorest the Mississippi. So we need to change the whole way things are working. It's a big uphill battle. We got a lot of work to do, but I think that if everybody wants to, stick around Canada, we want our country to see our country through the next 30 years. Like, we got a lot of work to do. Our budget's over $1 trillion here right now. Our deficit. We can't keep going like this. It's just impossible. Our country's gonna completely disintegrate culturally, and just there's not going to be any fabric holding us together. We need to have some common ground. So I think that's super important. And when Pierre gets in, don't let off the gas, guys, because he's not going to be able to fix everything in one term. It's going to be probably a multi-term thing. I think that once he gets in power, we're going to realize things are a lot worse than how we thought they were, and we're going to have a lot of work to do. So, and if things don't get better, what you guys got for me down in the States there? Hook me up with a position down in the States, and we'll move down to the old Texas, and where liberty is still a thing. That's a real suggestion, by the way. If things don't go, I'm down for that. I wouldn't be opposed to be in the 51st state if things keep going the way they are. If things aren't going to start being an upward swing, I would not be opposed to it. And like we were saying, anybody who's willing, who's interested in coming on the show, let us know. I'd love to hear some different points of view, newcomers to the country. If you're liberal, whatever, come and have a chat and show us and let us know what you think for length of the podcast. Navy?
Well, I think I agree with you. You had some really good views at the end there. Yeah, I think. Thanks, bud. I totally agree. Like, we need to. The work doesn't end because we vote somebody new into power. And I think that we've got to start taking, as a people, we have to start taking more ownership of what's going on in our country. And we need to hold people accountable as well. And I know that it's going to be a conservative government coming into power, and us conservatives have a tendency on, when things get okay, we just kind of accept it, right? The unvocal majority, as it were. If things aren't too bad, we just kind of hope things are going to work out. Because the average conservative is more concerned with living a life for themselves and making a good life for their family. And if things are going okay, we tend to not worry too much about it, or just let them go as they're going. But I think we need to be a little bit more vocal now. We've got an interesting situation now where we've got a major change in power, and we've found some major flaws in our democracy here in Canada. And I believe that we need to make sure they get fixed, because those flaws have been noticed by both sides.
Yeah.
And if we don't fix those flaws by the time the other side gets into power, we are looking at a situation where, we may never get that other side out of power. If you go back to World War II, I mean, everybody hates the word nationalism, right? Because of the Nazis. Let's not forget the other part of that was socialism. The Nationalist Socialist Party, that's where that came from. That was a socialist party.
Yeah, 100%.
And what happened there can happen here. That's the thing about history. If we need to remember our history, because if we don't remember our history, we're doomed to repeat it. And we need to not let that happen. We need to make sure that there are checks and balances in effect. That's one of the great things about America, is they have so many checks and balances in effect that it makes it so that something like that can't even really ever happen. But we don't have that here in Canada. And we need to make sure that those changes are made. And we need to work on, like Donovan was saying, we need to work on our politicians at the local level, at every level. And we need to work to stop bad things from happening everywhere. And we need to teach our children that we need to do this too, and make sure that they're involved in the running of their city and their province and their country and their state, right? And we need to make that a part of our society, because like I said, that's got to get fixed. If it doesn't get fixed, we're broken. And it'll eventually just turn so badly on us that we have no choice anymore. And that's the thing that scares me the most, is waking up one day and realizing that I'm not free.
Yeah.
I have no freedom left. And I've noticed how much less freedom I have over the last few years than I thought. I used to think that in Canada free speech was a right, and it's not.
Mm.
You know? And I used to think that
like in the States.
no. And I used to think that having certain beliefs was okay because you're allowed to have your own beliefs. And in Canada, you get persecuted for that. Mm-hmm. And we just need to make sure that we're doing a better job with that. And, you know, all that being said, I'd also like to add in just at the end here that if you ever hear that me and Donovan hung ourselves in our cell, it didn't happen. we both love our lives, and we would never do that. So if you ever hear that's happened, please ask some questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got no connections with the Clintons.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. In fact, they're great people, mate. You
know?
we don't wanna push any buttons here.
Yeah.
You know, they don't gotta kill us going.
No. But yeah, you know, other than that, I mean, you know, we got to work on that. And if we can't fix that, like Donovan was saying, if we can't fix that here in Canada, send us some job opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's up to us to make sure our own families and our own lives are filled with as many good things as possible. And I would really hope that those good things are going to be here in Canada. But if they're not, then they're not.
That's right.
And sometimes you have to make choices that upend your whole life in order to make things better for you and your family. And
I'll tell you what, I'll trade all you people down in the States who have been saying that you're going to move, you know, if Trump gets elected, you're going to move up to Canada. I'll trade you positions.
Trade you. Yeah, no problem.
In a heartbeat, I'll trade you positions.
Yeah.
You guys can come deal with this down here, and I'll come deal with your problems down there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, you know, other than that, you know, like I always say at the end of these, let's and it goes along really well with that. I think that we all got to go out there and we got to try to live the best lives that we can and help pull up our fellow man. It should never be about stepping on somebody on the way up. It should be about trying to pull everybody up with you. And if we can do that on a local level and a city level and a provincial or state level and a country level, just imagine the difference we can make in the world.
Oh yeah, should be unrecognizable in a good way.
Yeah. So let's do that.
I'm down with that. Yeah. Darn tootin'. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right. I love you guys.
Peace, guys. See you next one.